And welcome once again to the North American Red Angus Show, ladies and gentlemen. We'd like to take this time to introduce today's judge, Mr. Cody Louderman of Macomb, Illinois. Cody is a graduate of Blackhawk East and Michigan State University. He is involved with the family Hereford and auction business. He and his wife, Abby, have two sons, Tuck and Nash. Cody is accompanied by Mr. Reed Suddeth of Macomb, Illinois. He attended Blackhawk East and Western Illinois University and is currently working at Louderman Cattle. He and his family are involved in the sheep operation, Suddeth Lamb Company. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Cody and Reed judging today's Red Angus Show. First call, Class 4, Hereford's first call, Class 4, Hereford females.
Well, good morning, and what a humbling opportunity it is to get to stand out here with you today and to get to evaluate the Hereford show, and just so thankful for the opportunity and what a great day it's going to be. And start out with a tremendous class of this cow-calf pair division, and got a really, really nice place to start. Good cow here that's going to lead off, one that's opened up and got tons of rib and body and volume, and I think gives you a great look here from the side. She's one, I think excels this class in terms of structure and build, really, really long and athletic step off of both ends. You can shorten her up in her teat size there and just make her bag just a little more attractive, but doing a really, really good job with a very high-quality heifer calf here that's got good lines here from the side, good shape to her rib cage, a nice place to start. Congratulations to them. Good one here in second as well, and this cow at the stand can sure give you a great look. She probably has the advantage here, just being a little shorter in terms of her teat size, a little more appropriate there is the way that it all sits into her body. Really like this one out of her hip and her hind leg. Gets a little stiltier up front, maybe pushes her shoulder and her knee a little farther forward, but I think the biggest thing is there's just not as much of her in terms of rib and volume and mass and power, but she's doing an excellent job here with a very attractive heifer calf as well. Very nice pair of them up here on top. Big stout one here coming next, one that's got extra shape and dimension when you get right on top of her. Cow that's got a world of power out of her hip and mass and dimension. For me, need to change her in terms of her structure there out of her front end. Wants to get a little short step and a little straighter up there in her knee and shoulder. Could just soften her up there in terms of her body. But doing an awesome job, raising a big, stout, muscular bull calf there. Good pair there in third. Nice cow coming here as well, and one that's real rugged in terms of her bone work and foot size. Got some length of body. I think from the side just needs to be a shot more attractive in terms of her look. Nice bull calf here, though, that's doing an excellent job as well. Congratulations to our cow-calf pair exhibitors. Really, really high-quality class to start off our day.
Well, over on the Red Angus side, I want to first say good morning, obviously, and certainly a pleasure for us to be here and have the opportunity to work through your cattle here today and your exhibitors. And as we start off, just a pair of cattle here, but two that bring a lot of quality here. The young lady that we start off with, when you talk about them just being built a little wider, a little stouter from the ground up, this is the heifer calf that does that. Love the way she comes out of her shoulder back into her rib cage. That's a bold rib kind of a heifer. She's deep rib, she's set wide at her pins, and she still maintains that extra stoutness and balance with some attractiveness and some femininity. That's a nice little heifer calf to lead off with. Not to take anything away from the young lady that's going to come second in this class, a very attractive heifer here in her own right. Like the way her necktie is on the top side of her shoulder. She has some length and some strength down her top line. Relative to the heifer that leads off, we just like to open her up in her center body. We'd like to base her just a little wider and see her coordinate just a nickel better off the rear too. But a nice pair of females to start off with.
First call, Class 6 Red Angus. First call, Class 6 Red Angus females. Second call, Class 4 Hereford females. Second call, Class 4 Hereford females. Results of Class 1 of your Hereford cow-calf pairs. Your champion cow-calf pair and class winner goes to entry number 353, JC 109 Hoosier Lady 1D, owned by Clay Parker of Georgia, Connor James McQuaig of Georgia, and Calvin McQuaig of Georgia. Your reserve champion cow-calf pair goes to entry number 351, and second place class winner goes to entry 351, Bone Fat Hill, 17Y Daydream 31F, owned by Harrison Roberts of Williamsburg, Massachusetts. Your third place in Class 1 goes to entry number 349, BF Gabrielle 82G, owned by Ashton Tingle of Newcastle, Kentucky. In fourth place, entry number 354, Durst Farms. Your results of Class 1 of your red female Angus show. In first place, entry number 11, Country Aces Past Baby 658, owned by Bryce Zepp of New Windsor, Maryland. In second place, entry number 1, WCS Sky 2482, owned by Kunda Farms of Nancy, Kentucky. First call, Class 5 and 6 Hereford females. First call, Class 5 and 6 Hereford females.
super good class to kick off here in our second class. And in all honesty, folks, there's four heifers out here, and they're four really good heifers, and they're differing as they come to you in their type and their kind and where you want to lay your priorities and justify how you want to place these. There's some give and take, but the young lady's heifer that leads off suits us really good just in fundamentals. That one's built really good at the ground. I like the way she's laid up in through her shoulders. She's got a little rock or a little angle there. She gets out and reaches. That's an attractive female. She reads really good down her top line. You like the added body and the sweep in the lower 1/3 of her skeleton. You know, if we're going to pick on that one's probably not built as wide as a couple others that we have out here when you get right in behind her and study her from her pins down. But fundamentally, as I just talked about, that one's really, really smooth, super, super sound, got a real maternal look to her. Me and Reed talked about this heifer that comes in second. You know, it's going to be fun for this young man to take this one and continue on with her, because this one's super cool, folks. I mean, you want one that gives you just an awesome look, and she's built really good out of her hip. When you get in from behind her, we'd like to modify her ever so slightly in relation to that extra stoutness and body she comes to. Give her just a notch more frame and correlation to balance her out just ever so slightly. But that one's fitted to a T, super, super high quality, and that's going to be fun for the young man to campaign that one on down the road. 3 and 4 come really, really close to us, and there's some give and take. The big power heifer, and we're certainly not going to deny that, is the female that comes in third. You know, that's a super big-bodied one. She's built exceptionally wide out of her pins, and we get in from behind her. I'd like to alter or modify that one as you get out and go, especially off of her front end. As you watch her come to you, see her toe just a little better, see her better in her knee set up front. The gentleman's heifer that rounds off the class is a super high-quality female. Unfortunately, kind of run into a buzzsaw here and fighting to hold her just a nickel, but that's a high-quality female that has some presence and some good about her. Need to alter her as she hinges out of her hooks to pins there and then off her rear too. But that was a really, really good class to sort through. Congratulations to those exhibitors.
Second call, Class 6, Red Angus. Second call, Class 6, Red Angus females. First call, Class 7, Red Angus females. First call, Class 7, Red Angus females. Results of Class number 2 in your Red Angus female show. In first place, entry number 7, SGCC 354A KC 208K, owned by Smoking Gun Cattle Company of Winchester, Kentucky. In second place, entry number 6, BJF Flow 2157K, owned by Luke Borland of Henning, Minnesota. In third place, entry number 14, Lauren Gecke. In fourth place, entry number 12, Jared Zur. Now exhibiting in the Red Angus female ring is class number 3. Third and final call, Class 6, Red Angus females. Third and final call, Class 6, Red Angus females. Second call, Class 2, Red Angus females. Second call, Class 2, Red Angus females. Second call, Class 5 and 6, Hereford females. Second call, Class 5 and 6, Hereford females.
Well, what an awesome way here to start off our heifer show, and tremendous set of these things, these Mays and Junes, and boy, this will get you excited for the rest of the day because the depth, the quality of this class, it may be hard to do this again. I mean, these things are all very, very good, and you know, at this stage of their life, it's trying to find the happy medium of immature and young, but yet still finding them with some power and shape and look here. And I think the heifer calf we lead off with, for me, does this pretty logically in this particular class. She's the one here at the stand that sure gives you a nice, sleek look from the side. Very, very neat in terms of her top line and out through her hip. Really nice in terms of her forerib, back through her rear rib and flank. You know, I think her neck ties high out of the top side of her shoulder. Really appropriate in terms of her bone work. To me, where she has the advantage over the one in second. She's better up there, up through her shoulder and down through her knee, and the way she uses her front end structure. I think her tail head lays in her body just a little neater. She's not as neat maybe right there in her throat latch as the 1 and 2, but I think there's just enough more of this one as far as genuine width and body shape, yet still gets out of her front end a little neater. Very nice place to start. I like this one in second, and this one can give you a great look here. Really, really neat and attractive about her head and her neck. The shape to the top side of her neck is neat as well. Awesome in terms of her top line. I think her body shape's good for where she's at in stage of her life. Hip and hind legs sure neat. You could level her out of her pins and maybe just push her down in her tail head, but for me, just need to redesign her there in her shoulder and knee as compared to the one that wins, but a very, very high quality heifer here to come in second. 1 and 3's interesting, and boy, if you like them stout and big boned and wide built, you can really tie into this one. This is a neat breeding piece this young lady's got, and extra power you get on top of her. As heavy a bone one for this stage of the game as you might ever see, can give you a great look. Out here in this setting, she's probably a little much for me, maybe a little shorter in terms of her face, a little rounder out of her hip, and I'd just like to relax her when she gets out on the go, let her just ease up there in terms of her top line, just settle her in there, make her a little more feminine throughout, but a very high quality one that I can sure tie into from a breeding piece and a cow standpoint. Nice one coming next, young man's loud marked heifer, one with some rib and volume. If we can change her hip and hind leg ever so slightly, I think that one can slide up in this particular class. And if she'll settle in and become a show cow, I think that young man's got him a very high quality one on down the road. Just need to redesign the way she gets out and goes. Good heifer to close as well. A nice female that's got shape, got dimension to her. In this class, there needs to be more rib and volume. I think just change her in terms of a structural standpoint as well. But congratulations, awesome way to start here in our heifer calf division.
Over on the Red Angus side, a super good class to sort through, folks. And in the top end, we kind of cussed and discussed a little bit. These top two are closer in our opinion than some may think, but they come in a little different types and kinds and packages. The longer they're out here, the young man's heifer that we elected to start with, that's one that just reads with a little more true center body width, especially as she transitions behind her shoulder back into her midrib. That's the one that's set wider and squarer and bolder out of her hooks, the pins, and her pin set down. I like her added base width when we ask her to go. You know, if we're going to alter or modify that one, touch her up just a bit, I know she wants to fight to hold her ever so slightly, and as she goes there, you don't see it so much, but I'd like to change the way that one hooks up from hooks to pins when we set her into motion. But that one's a little deceiving for as much added body and boldness she has. She's still a run that reads just a nickel better down in the base of her chest relative to the heifer that comes in second. The heifer in second, she's a longer sided kind of a female, gives you an ultra good look from the side. Super long down her top line, very agile and very good in her top line when we ask her to go. I like that heifer's angles, the way she's laid back in her shoulders. She has some set to her hind too. As I just talked about, I like to stouten that one up ever so slightly, right in behind her blade, behind her shoulder there. And that advantage or disadvantage rather, I'd like to, when you get right in behind her, I'd like to see her just a little wider and stouter. But that's a super high quality female for the young lady, and she's doing an outstanding job out here. 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. These are good cattle, folks, and you can do some different things here. The heifer that comes next in line, to us, she's the one that most closely resembles the top two from a quality standpoint. I know she fights to hold her just a nickel out here, but when she wants to cooperate and the young lady gets this one set up, she gives you an ultra cool look. That one's really square and bold down her top line. She has that advantage when you get right behind her. At times, I'd like to take her and just extend her and freshen her up ever so slightly up in through her front 1/3. And I'm not exactly sure if she's just fighting to hold her, but I'd like to see that one just get out and go with a little more agility, if you would. the big stout performance-oriented heifer obviously comes in fourth, and you have to appreciate that about her. That's a big rib, deep-centered kind of a heifer with a lot of volume and substance to her. Unfortunately, she comes in a little plainer package, a little off-balance package. I like to adjust her just a little bit in terms of her structure. Young man's got a real intriguing heifer that rounds the corner here. Super, super high quality, very nicely presented. That's a heifer that reads really good down her top line. She's built really square and wide out of her hip. Maintains just enough substance and bone when you study her at the ground. Unfortunately, she kind of runs out of gas in this particular class. It'll be fun to watch that one develop as they mature, because I think there's a lot of quality and good in that particular heifer. Young lady that comes around the corner here, there's a flat-shouldered, angular, very attractive kind of a female. We just need to stouten her up from the ground up. And the young lady that rounds off the class has a female that certainly has some femininity, some quality to her. Once again, she becomes an off-balance female that just needs to be stoutened up from front to rear. Congratulations on a great class to those exhibitors.
Third and final call, Class 5 and 6, Hereford females. Third and final call, Class 5 and 6, Hereford females. This is your third and final call, Class 7. Red Angus females. Third and final call, Class 7, Red Angus females. First call, Class 10, Red Angus. First call, Class 10, Red Angus. Results of Class 2 in your Hereford show: in first place, entry number 12, Day Lady Sport Mindy 53D, owned by Day Ridge Farm of Telford, Tennessee. In second place, entry number 8, Purple HB Flatliner 108K, owned by Riley Gregory Rhodes of Carlinville, Illinois. In third place, entry number 14, Delaney Trubenbach. In fourth place, entry number 6, Laney and Leighton Hauge. And in fifth place, entry number 4, Harrison Roberts.
First division here on the Red Angus side, and 3 ultra good classes to work through and sort through here as we get started. And real quickly, the young lady that wins this first class, so as we talked about her in that respective class, that one that hits you really hard in terms of just her quality and her presence. And then you want to break that one down and adjust that one just a little bit. I'd like to change her just ever so slightly, the way she lays into her shoulder. That correlates down into her front knee and then down to her front feet. But I'm getting picky on a really nice female that has a tremendous amount of boldness. She's super square, super wide, and built really good out of her hip and hind leg as well. Young lady's heifer that wins the second class, as me and Reed were just talking about, that one's just hard to put a hole in. You want one that's just super solid, ultrasound, still gives you a good enough look. And we talked about her in a respective class. You know, there was a couple of heifers in there that was a little stouter and a little whiter. I guess I've got an old school mentality that females are still stout enough when they look like that, in my opinion. I think that one's one that you could certainly project out and look as a big heifer, and what she has to offer and brings to the table is pretty cool. Gentleman that runs this third class, again, that was a really close pair in our opinion. But when she gets back out here, I really appreciate the way this one transitions back in behind her shoulder, that ultra boldness and squareness in her midrib there. She has a nice sweep to her midrib as well. I like the way she's built in terms of just width out of her hooks to pins there, as we talked about. Just a little correlation of fighting to hold her a little bit, and when she gets out and goes, she wants to drop ever so slightly from hooks to pins there. Gets a nickel close when you talk about her going from behind in terms of her hocks in that regard. But that one's with a lot of quality, a lot of stoutness, and a lot of boldness for the gentleman that comes out of that third class. A very, very nice respective set of seconds over here. There's one that suits us. We're going to go select her. We'll analyze them again for reserve. But if you would give these exhibitors a nice round of applause here in your first division of the Red Angus.
Awesome set of these early May Hereford heifer calves over here on this side, and tremendous group of them all the way through. And these top 3 or 4 are very, very interesting to me in this class, because there is some give and take through in the top 3 and 4 here. But I think the one that wins, she kind of hit the gate swinging for me in terms of a structure and a balance standpoint. I think this is the one that ties it all together from a feet and legs and just agility look. A heifer that's really, really neat and attractive in terms of her top line. She has the advantage of the ones right behind her, from hooks to pins, the way her hip sets into her body. A big rib female, I think, sure gives you a nice look. She's not the freakiest up through her front end or the wildest there about her throat latch, but I think everything matches and fits right there on that one. High quality place to start. Boy, this one in second. This one can wind you up at times and really, really just gives you an out there look. This heifer is so neat, the way her neck ties high up out the top side of her shoulder, really sleek there in her chest and her throat latch and all the way up. Big-bodied female. You know, for me, she's just a shot awkward in times with her length of body, maybe just comes unhooked there a little bit behind her shoulder. I think the biggest thing is just want to pick her up in her pins, let her use her hip and hind leg just a little more accurately as compared to our class winner, but a very, very good heifer that I really, really like big parts and pieces about this one. Heifer in third, good female, real basic in terms of her type and kind. Big-bodied, dense heifer. You get on top of that one, there's a lot of mass and power in her. I think from the side, gets a little plainer in terms of her overall look. Maybe not the bone and foot size of the 2 right ahead of her. Could just neaten her up there through her head and her neck as compared to those 2. But a nice female there. It's going to make a really good cow. I really like this dark red heifer. And as far as the top line and hip goes and the way everything hooks up high, that's a very good one. And at the stand, you can really get into that one as well. Long-bodied, big, stout female that does a lot of things well. For me, you need to redesign her, let her get out and go off both ends a little truer and easier. I think with that, we could soften her up through the middle part of her body there. But good heifer there in her own right, gives you a great look, got a lot of power and performance. I think it gets close here between these next couple, and I kind of went back and forth both ways. Good heifer here. I think there's just a little more genuine shape when you get right on top of her compared to the ones up front. Need to soften her up, give her a little more rib and volume. I think loosen her up as well. This one has a little more reach off both ends, and it's a good female there when she'll cooperate and get out and go. I think compared to the one right ahead of her, though, not as much animal, not as much shape and dimension, but a good female. I think's got a lot of longevity about her in terms of her structure and her build. Nice heifer that's going to close this class as well. Young lady's doing a good job with one that's got some rib and some volume. It's a little plainer out here in terms of her look. Needs to be redesigned in terms of her structure. Congratulations. Very, very good class at early Mays.
Your Class 3 Red Angus female results. In first place, entry number 27, TCLA 50K, exhibited by Tucker Bear of Ringgold, Wisconsin. In second place, entry number 20, SGCC Kinsley 201K, exhibited by Ashby Norman of Remier, Alabama. In third place, entry number 32, Coivisto Farms. In fourth place, entry number 31, Delaney Naylor. In fifth place, entry number 24, Luke Borklin. In sixth place, entry number 21, Kelsey Zepp. And in seventh place, entry number 23, Lynch's Red Angus. Your spring calf champion female in your Red Angus show goes to entry number 7, exhibited by Smoking Gun Cattle Company of Winchester, Kentucky, SGCC 354A KC 208K. And your reserve champion goes to entry number 27, TCLE 50K, owned by Tucker Bayer of Ringgold, Wisconsin. Second call, Class 10, Red Angus. Second call, Class 10, Red Angus. Hereford entry number 39 to the makeup arena. Hereford female entry number 39 to the makeup arena immediately.
Well, if this is any indication of how the rest of the day is going to go, this is going to be just a blast and a lot of fun out here because these first 2 classes, these young heifer calves have just been tremendous. And the depth of quality in these classes are probably what I think the most of out here. These class winners and seconds are extremely good, but the depth of those classes were so much fun to get to evaluate to kick off our day. And we start off here with our first class, our youngest heifers up here, and I thought that one kind of just surfaced in that class. So the one that's the most athletic, but yet still had some body and some shape to her. And you get her back out here and still really appreciate her. That's a female with some real rib cage in her and some fore-rib and rear rib and flank, and yet still, I think in that pair, she was the one that could get out and go and use everything appropriately. You compare her maybe to a few out here in this lineup. She's not maybe as neat in her throat latch or maybe just as neat there from hooks to pins, but I think that's a very high quality female that's got volume, got mass and power, yet still gets around off her hip and hind leg, more than acceptably. The 2 out of the next class, and that was a very, very, very good class as well. And I think the one sorted, and I said that in class, if she kind of hit the gate swinging there from a structure and a balance standpoint, that's the one that gets out and goes and uses both ends of her skeleton extremely well. Love the shape to her hock and how she uses her hind leg there when she gets on the move, but yet still is really stout in terms of her bone and her footwork. I think that one sure gives you a nice look up through her front end as far as the way just everything blends and goes there. Just real smooth and maternal in terms of her kind. Out here, maybe her tail head sets up out of her body just a shot, but I think everything hooks in there nice from hooks to pins. Very, very good place there to start. And the second was a very high quality one, that class as well. One with extras, just need to be a little smoother in her look. So that class was super, super competitive to me. Let's put our hands together for the 2 out of the second class to be champion reserve in this division. Congratulations to those guys.
Hereford entry number 68 to the makeup arena immediately. Hereford entry number 68 to the makeup arena immediately. This is your first call, Class 7, Hereford females. First call, Class 7, Hereford females. Third and final call, Class 10, Red Angus. Third and final call, Class 10, Red Angus. This is first call, Class 11, 15, and 18 Red Angus females. First call, Class 11, 15, and 18 Red Angus females to the makeup arena.
Well, another super good class of red Angus heifer calves to work through and sort through here. In the top three or so, once again, there's some give and take, and they come to you in a little different type and kind, but the quality's there, folks. I mean, these are good cattle, and the young man that we lead off with, that one hit us both really hard initially when she come into the ring in terms of just her look and pattern and presence, but more importantly, that's the one that suits us the best from the ground up in terms of her angles, the way she gets out and covers her track. She's set good in her shoulders. She's good there from her hip down into her hock and off that rear pastern. And I'll be the first to admit and tell you, I'd like to take that one, just stouten her up ever so slightly, but that one's so smooth and ultra good looking and really, really sound. A nice solid place to start with. The heifer that comes in second here, I think more closely resembles the heifer, particularly the way she's constructed up into her front end. She maintains that extra advantage out of her hip and down into her hock. Our problems lie with her when she really gets out and going. She wants to get up just a nickel on those rear two pasterns there. If we could set her down just a little softer and easier, I think that one has a lot of good to her, because that one's opened up just a bit more, set just a nickel wider when you get right in behind her relative to that heifer that leads off. But as I just talked about, I'd like to change her just off those rear two as she goes. Standing still, the gentleman's heifer that comes in third, that's the super high quality one that's ultra attractive. You want one that's square and bold and just really, really neat to look at. There she does it right there, as you can see. We set her into motion. That's where our problems lie. I just like to loosen her up off both ends of her skeleton in order to move her up a notch or two, but that's a super high quality female that's presented to a T. We come into 4 and 5 here. These are big, stout, performance-oriented kind of heifers, and you have to appreciate that about them. But unfortunately, they come to us in just a nickel planer package. The heifer that goes out in fourth, I'd like to take her up just a bit in terms of her chest floor, see her coordinate just a little better off those rear two as well. Big, long-sided, big, stout heifer that comes in fifth. Once again, she wants to get up a little bit in her tail head, open up just a nickel right in behind of her shoulder. She becomes a little frailer heifer in relation to that extra body and mass that she has when you study her in terms of her bone working down at the ground. Young man that rounds off the class has got an ultra smooth made kind of a heifer, super attractive when you study that one or look at her from the side. Unfortunately, she kind of runs out of gas, for lack of a better term. We got right in on that one and behind her, but that was a really neat class and a good class. Congratulations to those exhibitors.
Your Class 6 Red Angus female show results in first place entry number 36, HHLCC Drama Queen 2305, owned by Leon Cattle Company of St. Clairsville, Ohio, and Harmony Hill of Bozeman, Montana. In second place entry number 37, Country Acres Mimi 651, owned by Kelsey Zepp of New Windsor, Maryland. In third place entry number 45, Ty Scott and Callie Bear of Ringgold, Wisconsin. In fourth place, entry number 39, Mackenzie Mawson. In fifth place, entry number 40, Brooke Rickey. And in sixth place, entry number 38, Max Richardson. This is your second call, Class 11, 15 and 18 Red Angus females. Second call, Class 11, 15 and 18 Red Angus females.
As we get over here on the Red Angus side, I guess Cody's had enough, and it's my turn to talk. The young man that starts out the class, I think just the most elegant in the way she stands there on the profile, the way she ties her neck, high on the top side of her skeleton. She's bold through her center body, and really square out through her hip. And of her contemporaries, she's the soundest, most flexible off both ends of her skeleton. That's a nice place to start. Very high-performing, bold-middled kind of a female that comes in second. One that we really like, the length of body and the extension. She just needs to be more comfortable in the way she hinges out of her hip and her hind leg, be more youthful and attractive up through her front end. But it's still her extra body and mass and balance that get her over the heifer in third. The heifer in third, we like the extra substance and power when you step in behind her. She just falls out of balance and needs to be more attractive up through her front end and softened through her center body. Thank you.
What an incredibly good class of these April females over here on the Hereford side, and just a really nice place to start, and one I think that is gravitating when you look at her here from the side as far as just her presentation and silhouette, a female that's so neat and attractive in her top line and out through her hip, really, really nice and fresh, but still big in terms of her body shape. A heifer that's heavy-boned and big-footed, and I think in this particular class is the one that's the neatest in terms of her structure as well. Great look from the side, extra shape, extra power, high-quality place to start. Here's where it gets interesting for me in this particular class, because I really like this one in second. No question in this one she's given up quite a few pounds in just performance, but I think when you break them down and study this one's got big days ahead of her. This is a high-quality one here that is so neat and attractive and fresh up through her front end. A heifer, I think, balances up extremely well here from this side. Still real nice in terms of her structure. Now, compared to our class winner, obviously there's not as much of her, but for me, I'd like to set her tail head down in her body, lengthen her and level her out of her hip ever so slightly, but that's a good one. That one's going to get very, very fun on down the road, I think, with some maturity, some time, and just allow her to catch up a shot. Very high quality one here that I think falls in second for me very nicely in this class. Good heifer in third. I like the stoutness and power this one's got when you get right on top of her. Extra shape up high, extra dimension and rib cage in this one. Gets a little ewe-necked and a little plainer there in her throat latches compared to them two right ahead. I think the biggest thing for me is need to redesign her in terms of her hind leg, just square up and let her use her ankle a little bit truer, but a good heifer there in her own right I think's got extra mass and extra power. Real basic one here coming next, and I mean that in a good way. A female that's extremely functional in her kind. Big-bodied, nice in terms of her structure off her hip and hind leg. Really like the way her tail head sits in her body as well. It's a little stilty and a little turned out up front. We could change her there in terms of her knee or her shoulder. All that design there, a little plainer up about her head and neck, but good female. Lots of body shape, lots of mass and dimension about her. Uses her hip and hind leg extremely well. I think she has the advantage over the one right behind her and just being a little truer the way she uses her hind leg structure. This is a nice heifer, though. Again, big-bodied, really good in terms of her rear rib and flank setting. A little plainer here from the side. Need to change her in terms of her structure and her build. Nice heifer here coming as well. Strong top, level hip female. I think that is really nice up high. Needs more rib, needs more volume in this particular class. Could stouten her up in terms of her structure. She's got the advantage of just being a little more to hers compared to the one coming next. I like this heifer, though. I think she's got some nice structure in terms of her length of stride here. A female that's really green and juvenile in terms of her look, but I think that one on down the road will become extremely high quality, needs to be more of her. And the one that's going to close, a nice female, needs to be redesigned in terms of her structure, just level her out of her hip and make her a shot more attractive from the side.
First and second call, Class 7. Hereford females, first and second call, Class 7. Hereford females. Your Class 7 Red Angus female results: in first place, entry number 51, TCLA 07K, owned by Tucker Bayer of Ringgold, Wisconsin. In second place, entry number 56, Wood Miss Priss 1041K, owned by Paige Wood of Big Cabin, Oklahoma. In third place, entry number 52, TG Southern Queen 2221, owned by Madison Fisher of Hempstead, Texas. Now exhibiting in the Red Angus ring is a selection of your champion junior heifer calf.
second second division here on the Red Angus side, and two class winners, obviously, and two really good respective seconds that we have out here. And not to take anything away from those seconds, those are two super high quality kind of females. But as Reed and I are talking out here, these two heifers that win these first two classes, or our class winners rather, these are two really, really good kind of females. And they come in a little different kind and type. And just to talk real simply or quickly, the heifer that wins that first class, that's the one that probably suits us. And there's no probably to it. She does suit us just a nickel better in terms of her structure. And with that, you ask yourself, is there enough there? Is that why she's just a little looser and gets out and a little more fluid? And that becomes the question mark, because that one is super attractive, so long and good down her top line, presented to a tee. And I just talked about, we ask her to go, and that one's angles, and the way she gets out and fills her track, we love that one in that regard. Just like to stouten her up ever so slightly when you get right in on that one, especially from her pins down. And that's where it comes difficult, because the heifer in second is built just a nickel wider out of her hip there, and when you get right in behind her, and that one's just probably a little bolder right in the central part of her skeleton. But on the same token, we'd like to free her up ever so slightly when we ask her to go. But there's some give and take. We're going to discuss one more time here, but I think those two are really, really good. They just unfortunately come in a little different package and where you want to lay your priorities. But I think these exhibitors need a nice round of applause here in the second division on a super good division here on the Red Angus show.
And your junior heifer calf Hereford champion goes to entry number, your junior heifer calf Red Angus champion goes to entry number 36. HHLCC Drama Queen 2305, owned by Leon Cattle Company of St. Clairsville, Ohio, and Harmony Hill of Bozeman, Montana. Your reserve champion junior heifer calf goes to entry number 51, TCLE 07K, owned by Tucker Bayer of Ringgold, Wisconsin. This is your third and final call, Class 11, 15 and 18 Red Angus female. Third and final call, Class 11, 15 and 18 Red Angus females. Second call, Class 7, Hereford females. Second call, Class 7, Hereford females.
Good class of these early April Hereford females here, and a nice place to start. A good heifer here, I think's extra feminine in terms of her type and kind, and really gives you a great look up there about her head and her neck. Really neat in the way her chest lays into her body and blends into her shoulder all the way up front. I think from there back, certainly a female that balances extremely well in terms of her rib cage, gets out in this class, and I think handles her structure extremely well as compared to the rest of them here. Very, very high quality one here to win this class. A good female there on top. I like this one in second well. This is a stout-made female that you get on top of her. Lots of body shape, lots of dimension. Probably as heavy a boned and nice in terms of her rear ankle as we've seen here. A good female there that balances up on her hind leg. You know, out here, she's one to fight it a little bit and could get out of her front end just a little easier there. Wants to rock forward there in her knee, get just a little short stepping up front. But I think from just a density standpoint, a body standpoint, hip and hind leg standpoint, a female that falls into second in this particular class. I like the heifer in third, and she's real feminine and real attractive here at the stand. You know, for me, there needs to be more of her out here just from a pin width standpoint and a benching standpoint. I think with that, we could probably collect her on her hind leg just a little nicer too, let her use that just a little more accurately, but a good female there. This was the problem heifer for me here in the class, and I know the young ladies probably feeling it out here as well too, the way this one's fought her around the ring all day, but a good heifer, and this one's big and stout and sure gives you a nice look when she gets her at the stand. Hard to read her structure out here, but I do think she's a little rigid out of her shoulder and her knee. Like to just change her and square her up off her hind leg as well, but big stout power cow there that does some things well. Good female here, a little more conventional in terms of her size and her length. A heifer, I think we could just relax in her top line and level her out of her hip, but still one with some body shape and some dimension to her. Nice heifer there. Good heifers coming out next, one that just need to be redesigned in terms of their balance and their look from the side, but they're ones with some shape and some power to them, going to make nice cows for those individuals on down the road.
Third and final call, Class 7, Hereford females. Third and final call, Class 7, Hereford females to the makeup arena immediately.
We get back over here on the Red Angus side. I think the young man's heifer wins this class for us pretty logically. From her shoulders back, she's so good down her spine and out through her hip. And the way she uses her hip and her hind leg, she's ultra attractive up through her front end and really, really fresh in her condition at this stage of the game. The young man's heifer in second, Cody and I agree, this one's huge-footed, has a lot of bone and substance underneath of her. She's really stout when you step in behind her. Compared to the class winner, she gets a little lower in her loin and higher in her tailhead. And I just like to freshen this one up. She gets a little rounder and coarser at the point of her shoulder and smoothing her up there out through her hip. Taking nothing away from the young lady's heifer that rounds out the class. This one's so bold and smooth through her center body. Has a lot of spread and dimension up high. It's just her structure that gets her where she's at. She's a little frailer and more refined underneath and gets more restricted off both ends of her skeleton. Thank you.
First call, Class 8 Hereford females. First call, Class 8 Hereford females. Results of Class 10 in your Red Angus show. In first place, entry number 57, Wood Shannon's Beauty, 1047, owned by Chase Wood of Big Cabin, Oklahoma. In second place, entry number 58, KJHT Roxy, 1202, owned by Colin Zuckerschwerd of Bloomfield, Illinois. In third place, entry number 60, Brooke Rickey of Whiteford, Maryland. Results of Class 5 of your Hereford show. In first place, entry number 39, Purple HB Myrtle 69K, owned by Purple Rain Cattle Company of Talon, Illinois. In second place, entry number 44, CME 33D Scarlet 2051, owned by Courtney M. Udy of Harrisburg, North Carolina. In third place, entry number 51, Ramsey's Herefords. In fourth place, entry number 45, Adam Taylor. In fifth place, entry number 43, Copeland & Sons, LLC. In sixth place, entry number 42, Charles Miller. In seventh place, entry number 38, Sedona Sifford. This is your second call, Class 8 Hereford females. Second call, Class 8 Hereford females. Hereford entry number 84 to the makeup arena. Hereford entry number 84 to the makeup arena immediately. First call, Class 19 Red Angus females. First call, Class 19 Red Angus females.
Super good class of fall heifers to work through here on the Red Angus side. And once again, not to sound like a repetitive button, but 1 and 2 are super good females, and they come to us a little different in terms of their type and kind, and kind of what we've done so far here today. The young man's heifer that leads off here, that's the one that suits us just a bit better, especially in terms of her condition at this stage of the game. We study that one up in through the base of her chest and then back at her pones or back in her tail head there. That's a super long-sided heifer that's ultra attractive, really good in her angles, and gets out and goes. Once again, you know, if we're going to change or modify that one, put a little of that power and punch at the heifer that has in second into that one, and we could be real confident or comfortable there. But those are two really good heifers right there, and as I just talked about, we prefer her freshness, her kind, and her flexibility over the heifer that comes in second. As I just talked about this heifer in second, you know, right there, that one's just, you can't just help but gravitate towards that one. The way she opens up right in, especially behind her shoulder, that is one big rib, bold rib kind of a female that's set ultra wide at her pins. She has some base width. At times you catch her maybe just being a nickel outside of herself in terms of base width off of both ends, but that's getting picky on a good heifer. We'd like to tone down and freshen up just a little bit in terms of her condition. We come into 3 and 4, and these are two really good heifers too, folks, and there's some give and take. With a heifer that comes in third, she's got a little more strength and a little more length, especially down her top line, the way her neck ties in the top side of her shoulder as well. You know, if we didn't have 1 and 2 out here, we'd gravitate and go right towards that one, because that's a super high quality kind of a female. It's got two really good heifers ahead of her. The young man's heifer that comes fourth in line, standing still, you really have to appreciate this one, because she is so square and bold down that top line, the way she's made and set in her pin placement there. She's wide and square off of both ends. Unfortunately, she comes in the shorter coupled package. We'd like to take her and just stretch her out, smoothen her up ever so slightly, but a nice female for the young man. Then a gentleman that rounds off the class here has got a super long-sided kind of a heifer. She stays strong and long down that top line. Unfortunately, she comes in the frailer package, little off-balance kind of package, in a very competitive class, but a nice female for a young man. Congratulations to those exhibitors.
Results of Class 11 in your Red Angus female show. In first place, entry number 68, 5 Oak Tutu 1002, exhibited by Grady Giffey of Sparta, Tennessee. In second place, entry number 69, Fancy's Pride 1565, exhibited by Luke Poulsen of Harpers Ferry, Iowa. In third place, entry number 70, Marcy Harward. In fourth place, entry number 71, Gavin Giffey. And in fifth place, entry number 67, Van Richardson. Now exhibiting in the Red Angus show is the selection of your champion fall heifer calf. Second call, Class 19 Red Angus females. Second call, Class 19 Red Angus females.
Very, very, very strong, deep class of these heifer calves, and with some challenge up here on the top end for me, and not necessarily with lots of things wrong with them, with just how high quality they are and the way they come in different shapes and sizes and kinds, and definitely a maturity standpoint for especially these top three heifers. But wanted to bring all three of them out here because they all three bring a lot of merit to the table. And you know, the longer they kept going in this class, I think the one that wins is the most complete for me. She's the one that's high tying up front and gives you a great look up there about her head and neck. She's the one with body shape still. She's still got some shape and power when you get on top of her. She's not as big ribbed as the one that's in second, but I think there's enough there in terms of just her center, the way everything hooks up from her fore rib back to her rear rib and flank. I think this one, in terms of a structure standpoint, is sure nice and attractive there as you get her out on the go. Probably a little neater at the base of her shoulder. The one is in second, probably just a little longer bodied and a little longer geared out here. You know, and I guess when the biggest thing is you read them on paper. She's sure got a nice set of numbers, a female there that I think just goes ahead and wins the class. The challenge for me here is the one in second. You know, blank on paper, and I know that's just probably turning some data in, but a good female, though, and definitely one that needs recognized. And she hit me hard right out the gate for that much rib and volume and mass and power to her. A big, heavy bone female that you certainly got to appreciate the way she uses her hip and hind leg. At times, she becomes a little awkward out here in terms of her shoulder placement and the base of her chest, the way everything hooks in. I like to just pick her up a little bit there up front and make her just a little more attractive the way her head and neck is designed. But that's a big body, dense female that's heavy boned and big footed and sure gets out and goes really, really well. I like to obviously change her on paper in this particular class as well, but a good female there in her own right. This one in third is neat, and I mean at the stand can give you just a crazy good look here from the side. Awesome headed neck and real feminine and maternal up about her head and her neck. A female who's compared to them two right ahead of her. There's not as much rib, there's not as much volume, and I think that one on down the road, if we can continue to get her to come in terms of her center, and I think width all through, that's a good female, though, that sure gives you a great look. Probably could tweak her on her hind leg and flex her there at the ground just a little easier, but very, very high quality one. A little more basic kind of a female here coming next, but I like this one in terms of a mass, a power, a bone standpoint. Female, it's very good in terms of her underline from her fore rib back through her rear rib and flank. I think she's neat and attractive there out of her hip. A little plainer in her chest, up through her head and neck is the ones ahead of her, and we could change that about her, probably lengthen her a little bit as far as just her overall look from the side, but a nice female there. Kind of the outlier here in this particular class, and one that maybe scares me a shot just from overall frame size and weight out here today. That's a big animal, but I think with that, there's still a lot of quality with that one. Good heifer here that's got a nice look here from the side, handles her feet and legs more than good out here. A good female there. Tone her down, make her a little more moderate in terms of her kind, but a nice heifer there in her own right. Good heifer coming next. Extra punch, extra power in terms of her shape and her kind. A lot of bone and foot size underneath this one. It's a little rawer there in terms of her shoulder, a little plainer about her head. Could just level her out of her hip and let her use her hind leg a little looser, but good heifer there in her own right. I like this one at the stand as well and gives you a great look down her top. Really fresh and youthful up through her front end and neat in terms of her attractiveness out of her hip. Needs to be more rib and volume, but I think the biggest thing with this one is just loosen her up there off her hind leg. Let her get out and go with a little more authority, but a good heifer there that gives you a great look. Got a really nice set of them coming here. Cattle that are extremely good in terms of their length of body. They got some look to them and some internal characteristics. Need to be a little nicer balanced, a little more body volume, but very, very good females. Extremely good class, challenging top three up there on the top end. Congratulations.
Fall division over here on the Red Angus side, and a couple class winners and respective seconds. And once again, the quality stayed true as we get these class winners and seconds back out here. Cattle that have some form, some function to them, and obviously we get them down here on these green chips or in the show ring. We want some attractiveness and some quality, and these cattle certainly fit the bill there. There's a little give and take here in this particular division. There's a couple that suit us. And I'll be the first to admit they're not identical in terms of their type and kind, but for us, they're the two that bring the most positives to the table. But these fall division exhibitors deserve a nice round of applause. We'll get the two that we like.
Third and final call, Class 19, Red Angus females. Third and final call, Class 19, Red Angus females. And your Red Angus Fall Heifer Calf Champion goes to entry number 68, 5 Oak 22 1002, exhibited by Grady Giffey of Sparta, Tennessee. Your Red Angus Reserve Fall Heifer Calf Champion goes to entry number 69, Fancy's Pride 1565, exhibited by Luke Palsden of Harpers Ferry, Iowa. Third and final call, Class 8 Hereford Females. Third and final call, Class 8 Hereford Females. First call, Class 9 Herefords. First call, Class 9 Hereford Females. First call, Class 22 Red Angus. First call, Class 22 Red Angus Females.
Just a single entry out here in the maze. The young lady brings us one who's really extended and attractive up through her front end. She's long and level down her spine, has some balance from the profile. A really, really nice one in this class. Maybe if we were to get picky, just soften her up just a little bit in her center body and stouten her up at the ground, but that's still an attractive, square-built female who's really bold and powerful when you step in behind her. Congratulations.
Results in your Red Angus show your Class 15 and also your champion intermediate heifer goes to entry number 75, LCC Gothic Beauty 14, exhibited by Kyra Moore of Fountain Run, Kentucky. Your Class 6 Hereford results in first place entry number 65, Showtime Queen Michelle 223, owned by Caitlin and Courtney Hockemeyer of Columbiana City, Indiana. In second place entry number 62, WSCC VH Breathless 13K, owned by Whitney Walker of Prairie Grove, Arkansas. In third place entry number 59, owned by Mary Krypton Lofton of Wesson, Mississippi. In fourth place, entry number 68, Purple Rain Cattle Company. Fifth place, entry number 69, Lane and Logan Cady of New Windsor, Maryland. In sixth place, entry number 79, Sophia Taylor. Seventh place, entry number 55, Mason Love. Eighth place, entry number 80, Delaney Chester. Ninth place, entry number 74, Alexis Udy. In 10th place, entry number 57, Alexis Udy. In 11th place, entry number 64, Leanna May. Second call, Class 22, Red Angus females. Second call, Class 22, Red Angus females.
Very good, big, strong class here, these early marches, and really neat trio up here on top of very high quality females. I think the one that wins, she does so for me pretty logically out here in this class. This is the one with extras. When you study her here from the side, able to pick her head and neck up extremely high out of the top of her shoulder. She's a big barreled female here that's still got plenty of look here from the side. And I think what sorts her in this particular class is the one that can just get out and go and glide and use everything here from the side. Good heifer here to go ahead and win the class. I like this one in second. When you talk about a stoutness standpoint, you get right on top of this one. A three-dimensional shape she has down her top and out of her hip. You know, she's not as big and sweeping rib cage as the one that's right ahead of her, but this one's got some outer turn to her body cavity, and really have to appreciate that. She's not as neat up to her front end, can't pick her head up quite as high, and maybe could just redesign her there in terms of her shoulder and her front end structure as compared to the one that wins the class. That's a stout one there that still gives you a nice look from her shoulder back. Good female there in second. She has the advantage over the one in third in terms of power. You know, I like this heifer here from a silhouette standpoint, a head and neck standpoint. You get right on top of them, though. She gets plenty flat in terms of her build. Like to just stouten her and square her up out of her hip and just give her a little more internal dimension. It's a nice female, though, with big, soft legs. She can really get out and move and cover some ground. Good heifer, just need to open her up, pull her apart, and give her some more stoutness. Good heifer here, kind of go to the other end of the spectrum here. This is a heifer that you really have to appreciate for just her performance, her power, her rib cage, her volume. There's times she can give you a great look, and there's times she gets a little awkward there in terms of her shoulder and behind her shoulder. I think we could just redesign her and give her a little more look and balance there from the side, loosen her up in terms of her structure ever so slightly as compared to the ones ahead of her, but a nice female there in her own right. Good heifer here coming next. A little plainer maybe in terms of her look up front, but I think from there back, that's a big rib female that's really soft in terms of her flank, got a nice set and shape to her hind leg. A little more conventional there in terms of her length of body and maybe out of her hip. We could lengthen her and level her there, just stretch her out ever so slightly, but a nice female there that's really got a lot of cow power written all over her. Good one coming next. Extra stout, extra pulled apart, lots of shape and dimension to her and heavy bone. Female that gets a little coarser there in her shoulder and up through her front end, could redesign her in terms of her look and balance from the side. Young man's done a good job here with this female that's extra green in terms of her condition, and that's okay. He's got a good heifer with a nice set of feet and legs underneath her, gives you a nice look in terms of her top line and out of her hip. We could just soften her up and just open her up in terms of her natural dimension, but I think on down the road, that one's going to be very high quality for him. Good heifers here to round out this class, ones I think that, have got some longevity about them and some structural correctness, just need more balance, need a little more time, and just some more mass and power when you get right on top of them.
Hereford entry number 101 to the makeup arena immediately. Hereford entry number 101 to the makeup arena immediately. Attention in the barns, belted Galloways. Your show is slated to begin at 11:30. Once again, belted Galloway show to begin at 11:30. Second call, Class 9 Hereford females. Second call, Class 9 Hereford females. First call, Class 10 Herefords. First call, Class 10 Herefords.
Not that hasn't been awesome quality starting and going through these calf divisions in the Red Angus show, but obviously we stepped up just a bit when we come into this class, folks. I mean, this is super good. This is why you take the chance and the opportunity to come down here on the green chips and have the opportunity to evaluate cattle, no matter the color, breed, whatever. And these Red Angus cattle are simply flat good. And these top three, folks, I mean, you can do a lot of different things here. And I'll be quite honest or frank with you. The heifer that ends up third is the one we gravitated towards initially, and that one's super attractive. Then you combine the stoutness and power of the heifer in second, that's where we land with the heifer that wins. She has the least faults for us. Would we like to stouten her up, give her just a little more hair coat and just jazz, so to speak? Yeah, I'd sure like to do that. But fundamentally, you get past that one's hard to pick a hole in. I mean, just good looking. She transitions so good behind her shoulder into that full rib. Love her top line, the way she comes out of that hip. She's certainly good enough in terms of her feet and legs when we ask her to go. And me and Reed talk, if we're going to go take one and just try to build something with and the most fault-free, we just kept going back to that one. 2 and 3, I mean, these are like donor type of females. I mean, they're that elite. They have those pieces, that quality. The heifer in second, standing still. I said to Reed 2 or 3 times, I said, if that heifer just got out and got a little better off those rear two, I said, she wins this deal. I mean, that one is, you want one that is presented to a T, one that is super, super stout and awesome out of her hip, and then from her pins down. That young lady does a fantastic job getting that heifer stuck. Unfortunately for us, just like to loosen her up, particularly off those rear twos when we watch her go. But that's a super high quality female that no doubt is going to produce some really, really cool cattle. And as I talked about the heifer that comes in third here, standing there, I mean, how can't you gravitate towards that one? You want just extreme quality and just presence, lack of a better term. You know, those cattle that you just go back to. She has that. She has that for sure. The longer you analyze that one, particularly right in behind her shoulder, she wants to get pinched in that full rib and heart, becomes just a nickel peaked at the top side of her skeleton down that top line. But that one's a super flexible, super good looking, just like to open her up and stouten her up just ever so slightly. But those 3 females on the top end, folks, are super, super good. And not to take anything away from the heifers as we go down the line. I think 4 and 5 are a lot alike. The differences lie in the fact that the young lady's heifer that comes in 4, she's just a little rocked back, has a little more angle to that shoulder. She gets out and fills her track just a nickel better. She comes in a more moderate package, and I certainly don't mind that. I just like to take her and stretch her out a little bit, bring that chest floor up in her just a nickel. Gentleman's heifer that rounds the corners I just talked about, made a lot like the heifer right in front of her. Her problems lie when we ask her to go. She gets a little more upright or stilty in terms of both ends of her skeleton, like to loosen her up and flex her up. In that regard, the young lady that comes next in line, there's a flat-shouldered, angular kind of a female, ultra smooth in her kind. Just need to power her up and give her just a shot more substance. The young lady that comes now, just not as much quality and presence from end to end. The young lady that rounds off the class has got a female that certainly has some quality to her as well. Unfortunately, here again, she wants to get up just a little bit in terms of that top line. Like to alter or modify her just a little bit in her structure as we ask her to go. But an ultra competitive class. Congratulations to those breeders and exhibitors on an outstanding set of females.
Well, this is a division here, and this is really, really, really good. And you know, I'm not sure what color you make these cattle. It doesn't matter because they're all really, really, really high quality. And breed for breed, you could go any of these in this particular setting, and you're probably not going to find 4, even 8 out here as high quality heifer calves that there are in this drive. So it's very humbling to get out here to stand and sort these things. Now, I'll be the first one to tell you they're not all exactly alike, and that's okay because, you know, they all come in different shapes and sizes and kinds, but they are extremely, extremely good. And there's some give and take out here from me, and it's kind of just weighing the positives and negatives. But the youngest one up here that wins the first class, that's a high-quality one. And, man, if you study that one just from a sheer balance standpoint, that female is extremely impressive. Her top line and her hip and her way her tail head lays in her body is as good as any out here. That's a female that's very, very impressive in just how square she is from hooks to pins, how true she is in terms of her dimension there as well, and yet goes to the ground as big a boned and big a footed as one that's in this drive. She's awesome bodied in terms of her forerib, back to her rear rib and flank. Very, very good heifer. Now, is she as long and extended and maybe as high-necked as a few of them we've got? Probably not, but I think everything sure hooks up and is very attractive there where her chest is at, where her head and neck placement's at, still neat in terms of her throat latch. very, very high quality one there that wins that class. Second heifer here that wins the next class. In that class, she was the one that was athletic and functional, and yet you still get on top of that one. There's plenty of animal there as far as just the shape and dimension. Really powerful down her top and the shape to her upper rib cage. That's impressive in terms of that aspect in this particular drive. Awesome in terms of her rib cage from forerib to rear rib and flank. I like the set and shape to her hind leg. Is she as big a bone maybe as a few of them out here, or stout in terms of her ankle? Maybe not, but for me, I like to just set her tail head down in her body ever so slightly and pick her up in her pins as compared to the one right ahead of her, but I do think that one's maybe a pinch stouter. So there's the give and take between them two. The oddball out here for me is the one that wins the third class. Now, that's not taking anything away from her quality, because that's still a high-end female, one that's very high-necked and very attractive up front, plenty of shape and dimension out here. As compared to the cattle on either side of her, is she just as maternal in terms of her look? Is she as big in terms of her rib cage? Probably not, but that's still a nice female there. Sure gives you a great look, really nice shape to her hind leg. Probably could tweak her a little bit the way she gets out and uses that as compared to the ones on either side of her, but a very, very good heifer in her own right. So then we get down here to the final heifer in this division, and one I think that it has to command your attention out here just from a presence and a look standpoint. The way this one can pick her head up high out of the top of her shoulder, yet still very maternal in terms of her look and the shape to her head and how everything just kind of hooks up. One that's kind of deceivingly stout. You get right on top of her, there's plenty of shape to that one and plenty of dimension. I think she balances up extremely well here, in terms of just her chest to her underline, back to her rear rib and flank. As compared to maybe the first heifer that wins the first class, is she just as true and square right there in her pin bones and how everything hooks up there? I don't know, but I think everything lays in her good. I think it reads long term. That's a very, very high-end one. So there's some decisions to make out here, and depending on where you put your priorities, I can definitely understand going several different ways. I think there's one that's maybe just a shot edgier for me and just gives you that long-term wild look. Let's congratulate the young lady here out of the last class with your champion.
Third and final call, Class 9, Hereford females. Third and final call, Class 9, Hereford females. Second call, Class 10, Herefords. Second call, Class 10, Herefords. Your Red Angus female Class 18 results: in first place, entry number 86, TC Primrose 62J, owned by Tucker Bayer of Ringgold, Wisconsin. In second place, entry number 81, HEH Avery 15J, owned by Hadley Hartman of Tecumseh, Nebraska. In third place, entry number 80, Cabri Tinnen. In fourth place, entry number 83, Olivia Naylor. In fifth place, entry number 77, Amelia Beatty. In sixth place, entry number 85, Madison Fisher. In seventh place, entry number 87, Gage Kildow. And in eighth place, entry number 82, Hannah Georges.
Back on the Red Angus side, once again, we get into these yearling females and another really stout competitive class as we work through and sort through these. And the heifer that we elected to lead off with, once again, that's the one that you just kind of gravitate or go back towards in terms of just quality. A very nicely presented heifer, but more importantly, that one is so super bold and wide and middle third of her skeleton. She maintains that advantage when we get right in on her and from behind as well. I'll be the first to admit I'd like to tone her down ever so slightly in terms of just condition and just smooth her up a little bit. That's getting picky on a very, very good kind of a heifer. A nice place to start. 2, 3, and 4 are good cattle here. And once again, you know, you put the hair coat, especially on the heifer that leads off on this heifer in second, I'd venture to guess that this top pair would get really, really close because this one here is kind of what you see is what you get. It's hard to put a big, big hole in that one. She doesn't have that presence and that wow factor. Like to stouten her up just ever so slightly at the ground in terms of that footwork and that bone work. Lay that chest back in her just ever so slightly as well. But the young girl does a nice job getting that one stuck and presented. That's a super fault-free, good kind of a heifer that goes in second. Young man that rounds the corner here, standing still, she resembles that heifer in second a great deal in terms of her body type and her kind and her build. And we need to alter that one, the way she's hinged or the way she's built out of that hip or from hooks to pins, and that correlates down at the ground. When we talk about her hock and rear pasture, you need to see her go just a bit more comfortably, if you will, when we ask her to get on the lead. The heifer that comes in fourth, that's the one when you just step back and analyze them, one that is super attractive. The way her neck comes out of the top side of her shoulder, she's super good in terms of that jaw line and maintains that down into her chest and brisket. Ultra good and long down that top line. That's one, the longer you read her, she wants to get a little pinched right in behind her shoulder in terms of that heart and forerib. We can take her and just kind of blow her apart, expand her, particularly in that middle third of her skeleton. When you get in from behind her, she becomes more competitive. Young man that rounds the corner right now, we come down just a bit in terms of frame, and once again, I don't mind that because she has some moderation combined with some body type and some kind. Unfortunately, she becomes a plainer package kind of a heifer out here. Runs downhill just a nickel. She's got more chest and brisket up in her. Nickel frailer at the ground as well. The advantages lie in the heifer that rounds the corner now in terms of that bone work and substance. That's a bigger footed, stouter bone kind of a heifer that's set wider there when you get right behind her as well. Here again, she wants to get up in that top line. She's a little coarser about her joints as well. But once again, congratulations those exhibitors. Super good class to sort through again.
First call, Class 11 Herefords. First call, Class 11 Herefords. Third and final call, Class 22, Red Angus. Third and final call, Class 22, Red Angus. This is your first call, Class 23, 27, and 30. Once again, first call, Class 23, 27, and 30, Red Angus females. Results of Class 19 in your Red Angus show. In first place, entry number 95, L83 Jetta 121J, owned by Delana Green of LaGrange, Indiana. In second place, entry number 123, TC Lola 28J, owned by Charlie Joe Kleeman of Bramer, Missouri. In third place, entry number 94, Colin Zuckerschwert. In fourth place, entry number 88, Wallace Kipp and Lauren Gecky. In fifth place, entry number 93, Parker Chestnut. And in sixth place, entry number 96, Hannah Taylor.
Really good class here in our second half of February's good pair of them here up on top. And I think within the pair, there's enough more extras here. This one's that wins a good heifer calf that really picks her head up high out of the top side of her shoulder. I think from there back has the advantage of being a little stronger and square right there in terms of her forerib. A long-bodied female that still has, still has rib and volume. Really a nice set to her back leg and gets out and goes and takes a long, comfortable stride. Very nice place to start. I like the rib cage in this one in second. She's deep. She's bold in terms of her underline. A good female there that's heavy boned and big footed. You know, for me, maybe gets a little U-neck. I like to just pick that up and balance her up there up front a little bit. I think the biggest thing, too, is to square up there in terms of her pin setting as compared to our class winner, but a good functional female that's big-bodied and dense, and I think's got a lot of good about her. Good heifer here. I switched this pair here a second ago, and I'll be the first to tell you they both could be redesigned in terms of their structure, but I think there's just more of this one here that's in third as far as a bone and substance standpoint, one that's got more genuine body to her. Need to loosen her up off both ends and let her get out and go and take a longer, more comfortable stride. That's a nice female there with a lot of performance and power and bone and substance. Young man's got a really highly presented, nice shown female here that gives you a striking look at the stand. Certainly appreciate her top line and out of her hip. A female that's fresh in terms of her condition. Need to redesign her in terms of her structure as well, but I think the biggest thing, give her more of her in terms of rib and volume and performance, but a nice female there. I like this heifer a bunch. Tons of shape, tons of power right here, the one coming. A lot of female here when you study her in terms of just a muscle standpoint. Got to change her in terms of her hip and hind leg movement, soften her up in her body, and lengthen her out of her front end. Good heifer here coming next, one with a little extra white on her. Good heifer with just lots of rib and volume to her. So a little plainer in terms of her look. Could redesign her in a few areas in terms of her structure. And the one that's going to close, a nice female as well with some length and extension. Needs to be more of her out here in this particular drive.
Back on the Red Angus side here, another super competitive division, folks, and our two class winners and obviously our respective seconds out here. And we get back out here, and real quickly, heifer that wins that first class. We talked about her a few minutes ago in that respective class. You know, if you could give that one just a notch more hair coat and just style and presence, you just fall in love with that one, because for us, that's hard to put a hole in that one. You know, she's super complete and fault-free. A heifer that transitions and blends so good from front to rear. She has that quality about her and stays good enough in terms of those feet and legs. A big-time breeding piece, and I will say that the heifer that wins this second class, when you see her just standing there, you talk about one that's presented and fitted to a T. I mean, huge bodied, and that lower sweep to her middle 1/3 of her skeleton, that extra power and substance she has throughout. So we just alluded to or talked about her in that respective class. I like to tone her down just a little bit in terms of that condition as you study her up in through that chest and brisket, but that's a super high quality female. It's going to be a big time producer and female for the young lady. Our respective seconds out here are both really good, and there's one in particular that Reed and I like quite well in terms of just her kind and her presence and her quality. We talked about her in class. I like to alter just a little bit in terms of the way she gets out and moves, but nitpicking on a very high quality female. There's a couple that suit us well in this division. We'll show you the two that we like. Give them a round of applause. Congratulations, exhibitors.
And your senior intermediate champion Red Angus heifer goes to entry number 86, TC Primrose 62J, owned by Tucker Bearer of Ringgold, Wisconsin. Your reserve champion goes to entry number 81, HEH Avery 15J, owned by Hadley Hartman of Tecumseh, Nebraska. Second call, class 23, 27, and 30, Red Angus females. Second call, class 23, 27, and 30, Red Angus females. Attention in the barns. Once again, Belted Galloway exhibitors, your show is slated to start at 11:30. Once again, Belted Galloway's show to begin at 11:30.
Good class of early February Hereford females here, and I think one that wins here for me is the female that's moderate. She's big-bodied. She gives you a nice look here from the side, really up-headed and fresh up through her front end. I like her in terms of her condition and where she stands in that aspect. Just a good, high-quality one here to win this particular class. Nice place to start. I like the one in second extremely well, too. That's a big, stout power female here that she does have the advantage over the one right ahead of her in terms of just sheer dimension and mass and substance. You know, that's a good-looking one here from the side. A little edgy in terms of her structure. Could sure just loosen her up there and modify her, the way her knee sets into her body, and just let her get out and be just a little more flexible off both ends. That's a very, very good heifer here at the stand. It's big, stout, and powerful. Like that one as well. Good heifer here coming next, and she probably has the advantage of being a little longer stepping than what the one does right ahead of her, especially off their hind leg there, but, you know, not quite the look, not the balance from the side, and I think when you get right on top of her, could square her up out of her hip and make her just a shot more attractive as compared to the one that's in second, but a nice female there that's got some rib and volume, uses her hip and hind leg well. Good heifer here coming next. Moderate in terms of her size, got some body shape to her, got some density there. Female gets a little awkward there in terms of her hock and the way she goes to the ground. Just like to pick her head up out of her body and let her be a little more attractive here from the side, but a very, very nice heifer there in her own right. Good green condition here, one here coming next at the stand. You really, really like in terms of just how fresh she is in her chest and up through her front end. You know, you get right on top of that one. Just need to open her up, give her some more stoutness and dimension right there from a three-quarter view. But a good female there, I think, has got a lot of longevity about her. And the one's going to close, a good heifer. Got some bone and some foot size to her. Female, I think it's nice in terms of her structure. From a balance standpoint, just needs to be a little more attractive in terms of her lines. Excellent class, nice place to start.
First call, Class 12 Herefords. First call, Class 12 Hereford females. Results of Class number 9 of your Hereford female show. In first place, entry number 116, VH 1326, Candy Girl O2K, owned by Paisley Van Horn of Morgantown, Indiana. In second place, entry number 113, Green 7317, Holly 5K, owned by John Cox of Flemingsburg, Kentucky. In third place, entry number 118, Sage E. Lawrence of Avila, Indiana. In fourth place, entry number 111, Griffin, Ty, Lily, and Allie Anderson of Morton, Illinois. In fifth place, entry number 115, Ramses Herefords. In sixth place, entry number 117, Crown L. Herefords. Third and final call, Class 27 and 30, Red Angus. Third and final call, Class 27 and 30, Red Angus females.
Not to sound like a repetitive record, but you know, you get down on the green chips and going to evaluate cattle in Louisville, you know there's going to be quality and they're going to be good, but these big heifers have been fun, folks, over here on the Red Angus side. And these top three heifers are super, super good. You know, I encourage you to reach out to these people and try to better your program and what you're focused or targeted on, because these are elite cattle. They really are. And the heifer that we lead off with, once again, you've heard me say as we've worked throughout the day, just piece for piece and just trying to pick a hole in one, it's hard to do so in that one. That one's just super solid, particularly from the ground up. and the way that she comes out of her shoulder back into that midrib, she opens up wider, particularly right behind her blade, relative to the heifer, and especially the heifer in third. I like that middle sweep and rib shape that she has, but yet she stays so attractive and still feminine enough in her kind and her build. Just a super solid female to lead off with. This heifer that comes in second, me and Reed both come back to this one a bunch of times. We had her third initially, and then we're like, you know what, that one's pretty darn good. And she is, and that one's super attractive. The young man does an awesome job showing her. You know, we get down here and get a little picky. I'd like to set that tail head down in her just a nickel, and I'd like to stouten her up and bolt her up just a little bit behind that shoulder. But that one's ultra cool to look at. She's good in terms of her structure and her angles. Nice, solid female. It's going to be a very, very good producer for the young man. The young man that rounds the corner here that comes in third, I mean, this one from her shoulder back, and I say that, I should probably say about her third or fourth rib back, that one's incredible in her build. And the way she's presented, you want a hip and hind leg in one, right there she is, folks. And that one is so cool when you get behind her and the way she set at her pins. Unfortunately, she's pushing a nickel more chest up front through her front 1/3. She doesn't open up as true and as wide right in behind her shoulder as well. But that's a super high quality one that is fundamentally right at the ground in terms of her angles and structure. Young lady that comes around the corner here, you know, you take those top three out of this class, you're going to gravitate toward this one pretty easily. I mean, this is a super big-bodied, bold rib kind of a one. She's moderate in her kind, and I don't mind that one bit because her body type matches that. Unfortunately, she comes in a nickel planer package. Just need to neaten her up and freshen her up and through that front 1/3. The same holds true for the young lady rounding the corner now. That heifer has something to her in terms of just substance and volume. Unfortunately, she becomes a poorer balanced heifer as we get out here and we analyze her and compare her to those good heifers ahead of her. Young lady that rounds off the class has a super smooth pattern kind of a heifer that's exceptionally long-sighted. Here, once again, unfortunately, she just kind of runs out of gas, lack of a better term, when we get right in on her and from behind, just need to stouten her up and power her up. But once again, congratulations on a really, really good class on those Red Angus exhibitors.
Results of Class 22 in your Red Angus female show. In first place, entry number 100, WLTR Scarlet 4J, owned by Brett Pembroke of Fairview, Oklahoma. In second place, entry number 105, BJF CETA 1049J, exhibited by Luke Borglin of Henning, Minnesota. In third place, entry number 103, Tucker Bayer. In fourth place, entry number 102, Addie White. In fifth place, entry number 104, Bryce Zepp. And in sixth place, entry number 106, Paige Wood. This is your first call, all champion and reserve champion Red Angus females. First call, all champion and reserve champion Red Angus females to the makeup arena. Once again, Belted Galloway exhibitors, your show will begin at 11:30 in Freedom Hall. Once again, Belted Galloway exhibitors, your show will begin at 11:30 in Freedom Hall. Second call, Class 12, Hereford females. Second call, Class 12, Hereford females.
As we get back over here on the Red Angus side, the young lady's heifer that we chose to start with just puts the most together for us. She's so good in her body shape and her doability. She's really massive through her center body and still handles it relatively well on the move off both ends. just a nice place to start in this class. The young lady in second brings us one who's ultra stout at the ground. She's big-footed, heavy boned, one who's long and level down her spine. Just compared to the one ahead of her, she gets this nickel shotgun bellied for us. I'd like to soften this one up through her center body and just make her balance up a little better from the side. Taking nothing away from the young lady's heifer that rounds out the class, one who's good and bold through her center body there. It's just her structure that gets her where she's at. She gets a little extra set to her hind leg and wants to get up underneath herself just a little bit. Gets a little vertical up front, but still a nice heifer in her own right. Congratulations.
Results of Class 23 and your Red Angus female show in first place, entry number 108, Rojas I'm Through Talkin' 1438, exhibited by Madison Fisher of Hempstead, Texas. In second place, entry number 109, Miss Elena 21J, exhibited by Adeline Sorgan of Convoy, Ohio. In third place, entry number 110, Ronald Carlin. This is your second call, all champion and reserve champion, Red Angus females. Second call, all champion and reserve champion, Red Angus females to the makeup arena. Third call, Class 12, Hereford females. Third call, Class 12, Hereford females.
Big, really, really good class of January heifers here, and this top end is a lot of fun for me, and lots of, give and take and types and kind differences out here, and hey, that's okay. Depending on where your breeding program fits and how you're shooting them or maybe targeting them, you can do a lot of different things out here, and I wouldn't argue with you. I'm going to tell you the way I see them out here and read them. I think this top pair of females are the ones that, have some extras as far as bone and foot size and shape to them, and I think within that pair, you study this top two, the one here that wins. There's enough more of her right there in her forerib and right there behind her shoulder. I think that maintains all the way back into a bigger square pin set. This is a good-looking female here from the side that sure balances up extremely well. She's good in terms of her center shape and back through her rear rib and flank. It's a very attractive set to her hind leg. The differences between these two is she'll pick her head up higher than the one does in second, maybe use it a little neater, not quite as neat right there in her throat latch or maybe even down to the base of her chest, but I think that one's just got a little more right internal dimension as compared to the one in second. I like this one in two very well. This is a big boned, heavy structured female that I think uses her hip and hind leg extremely well. Very attractive in terms of her head and her throat latch. Study that one right there in terms of her heart and her forerib. Like to just open her up and square her up there in terms of her dimension. Maybe not as soft. Right through the center part of her body is our class winner. But an excellent pair of females there to go ahead and start this class. Problem one here is the 1 and 3 because I like this female a lot and a great deal, especially at the stand. You know, she's way different than our first two is from a size standpoint. It's okay, though. I mean, there's still enough performance and power in that thing. I like this one a lot. She's probably the truest and the best bodied of our top three as far as just rib shape and dimension goes. Gives you a nice look there at the stand. For me, you set her in motion. She just need to loosen her up and let her get out and go and use her spine just a little nicer. Just soften her up there at the ground ever so slightly. Set size aside. That one's still very, very high quality. Just need to loosen her up in terms of her build. 1 and 4, good heifer. Maybe gets swallowed up out here a little bit in terms of just look and balance, but that's a good female when you break that one down. Nice set of feet and legs underneath her. She's big rib. She's high volume. Good female there. Not quite as attractive from the side of them ones right ahead of her, but very, very good female that's going to have some good days ahead of her. Extra stout one here coming next. Heavy bone, big-footed, really, really square down her top and out of her hip. Got to balance her up there in her top line. Wants to roll up behind her shoulder. It's a little awkward the way she uses her hind leg. Extra stout, extra punch in that one. Same kind of goes for the next one here, too. You get on top of this one and he gets her parked. You really, really got to appreciate all the mass and dimension and rib cage this one has. Need to loosen her up and let her get out and go and use her structure a little truer, but good female there at the stand when he gets her put together. Nice heifer here coming next. A little greener in her condition as compared to the few right ahead of her, but good female here. I think probably has the advantage of the remaining class, being a little neater in terms of her structure. Like to stouten her up and get some more animal out here as compared to a few right ahead of her, but a good female there in her own right. This one here at times can really gravitate towards. She's big-bodied, she's dense. Female needs to balance up a little better, kind of runs downhill, gets a little awkward there in her balance from the side. Good heifer here at the stand. The young lady gets her put together and gives you a great look down her top. Needs to move better off both ends and just balance her up there in terms of her underline. Good one to close as well. Long-bodied, nice female there. Just need to balance up a little nicer from the side and use her structure just a little truer. But what a great class of January females. Congratulations to all those exhibitors.
Back on the Red Angus side, and another division selection as we get back out here. Again, a couple class winners and those respective seconds. Once again, folks, as we've worked through and we've gone up in terms of age, obviously, these cattle have just stayed plumb good. And hats off to these breeders, these exhibitors, these people putting these cattle together back in the barns. There's a couple that suit us really, really well in this division. If you would, reward these folks and give them a nice round of a hand. We'll get the two that we like. Congratulations.
Third and final call, all champion and reserve champion Red Angus females. Third and final call, all champion and reserve champion Red Angus females. And your junior champion Red Angus female goes to entry number 100. WLTR Scarlet 4J, owned by Brett Pembroke of Fairview, Oklahoma. Your reserve champion goes to entry number 105, BJF CETA 1049J, owned by Luke Porkland of Henning, Minnesota. First call, Class 13 Herefords. First call, Class 13 Hereford females. Results of Class 10 of your Hereford female show. In first place, entry number 123, CFCC Posey 210K, exhibited by Peyton Farmer of Brownstown, Indiana. In second place, entry number 133, SSF KKH Olivia's Bell 205, owned and exhibited by Todd Kim and Casey Herman of Lima, Ohio, and BJ Herman and Sons of Edgerton, Ohio. In third place, entry number 142, Gary and Kathy Bullschultz of Texas. In fourth place, entry number 143, Libby Rushton. In fifth place, entry number 128, Jack Witter. In sixth place, entry number 120, John Cox. In seventh place, entry number 134, Ramses Herefords. In eighth place, entry number 129, Zachary Imbruglio. In ninth place, entry number 141, Allie Harrison.
just a single entry over here on the Red Angus side, but a moderate, easy keeping kind of a female who has some depth of body and has some dimension. Maybe compared to some of the other ones we've seen out here today. Just like to extend her a little more up front, give her a little more substance at the surface and just balance her up a little better. But that's still a moderate, easy keeping kind of a female for the young lady. Congratulations.
Single entry here, obviously on the Red Angus side, and we're talking about senior yearlings here, and of course she's done what's expected of her. She's got a coupon, her baby alongside of her right here, and doing a nice job of super attractive, kind of a young female here. Obviously, she's just a 2-year-old, and congratulations to these exhibitors here on the nice senior yearling entry.
Results of your Red Angus show your Class 26 winner went to entry number 112 SGGC Gilda 201H, exhibited by Hannah Georges of Linville, Indiana. Your Class 27 winner went to entry number 113 Reba Heather 202H, exhibited by Reba Prather of Nancy, Kentucky.
Good class. We get the remaining Januaries here in this particular drive, and interesting top 3 out here, and all of them are a little different and probably could be modified probably in terms of their structure ever so slightly, but I think the one that wins is from just a stoutness standpoint, a look and balance standpoint. She's the one you gravitate towards. This is the heifer that gives you a great look here from the side, heavy bone and big footed, and really just neat and attractive in terms of her look. I like the body shape this one has, and still, gives you a fresh appearance out here. Could change her, just loosen her up in terms of her structure, but a nice female there to go ahead and win the class. 1 and 2nd is just kind of a broody made, wide-built female here that's big in terms of her body shape. Gives you a nice look down her top and out of her hip. Not as attractive up front as our class winner, maybe just not as neat and true in terms of her hind leg and hip as that one at the stand, but a female too. I think we can modify her in terms of her structure as well, but still a really, really high quality one there to come in 2nd. The 1 and 3rd, good female. When she gets this one parked, gives you a great look, especially down her top and out of her hip. Really fresh and youthful in terms of her condition. There's not as much animal out here today as compared to the 2 right ahead of her. I'd like to stouten her up in terms of her bone and her foot size, just give her a shot more performance out here. Could probably loosen her up out of her front end structure as well. Nice heifer coming next at the stand. Gives you a great, great look here in terms of just her balance from the side. One that's neat hipped and neat in terms of her back leg. We could change her as well. She wants to roll up there in the center of her back, just like to use her hind leg a little truer, but a good female there in terms of her own right. Nice one coming next, more moderate in terms of her size, and that's okay, but this one's got some bone and some look here from the side. Maybe just like to true that one up out of her front end structure. I think with that out here, a little more performance as compared to the ones up front, but a good female there. And the young man's done a nice job here with the female. Going to close, really a wide-made, broody female here that's got a lot of dimension to her. Needs more look and balance out here as compared to the cattle right up front.
Second call, Class 13, Hereford female. Second call, Class 13, Hereford females.
We get back out here for the senior yearling division. Two individuals in their own right come out of their own classes. Cody and I both have one that we think is a logical place to go ahead and use in this division. Give these exhibitors a nice round of applause, and we'll come back and continue the show after this division. Congratulations.
And your senior champion Red Angus female goes to entry number 113, Reba Heather 202H, exhibited by Reba Prather of Nancy, Kentucky. Your reserve senior champion female goes to entry number 112, SGGC Gilda 201H, exhibited by Hannah Georges of Linville, Indiana.
Pair over here on the Red Angus side, and a super young female, obviously doing more than what she's asked of here. Calved a little early, but as we all know, we do have that. But I mean, a nice uddered female, heavy milking, doing a nice job with the bull calf alongside of her. Congratulations to these exhibitors here on a nice pair.
And your champion cow-calf pair goes to entry number 114 in your Red Angus show, WCCS Miss Eclipse 110, owned by Kunda Farms of Nancy, Kentucky.
Well, this has been a very fun January, February division here in our heifer calf side of the Hereford show, and what an honor it is to stand here and get to evaluate such high quality animals. And so, you know, with that being said, there's still a lot of give and take and a lot of different types and kinds out here for me, and so it's kind of just depending on where you put your priorities and how you want to land them today. But you know, starting up here with this first pair of heifers that won that first and second in that class, both of them were extremely good, and there was some give and take in that pair, but yet I thought the one that won sure gives you a striking look here from the side. So neat and attractive, the way her head and neck comes out of the top of her shoulder. I think from there back, she's the balanced female out here, down her top and out of her hip, where her pin bone's set in terms of her body cavity. In that class, she was the one that was more opened up behind her shoulder and square in her hip, and I still think that correlates out here with the rest of these cattle out here, how true she is in terms of her top line and out of her hip. Fresh in terms of her condition, still yet she has rib cage and volume. I think she uses her hip and hind leg extremely well. A nice heifer calf there. One that wins the second class, extremely good, and she's the outlier out here as far as just being different in her kind. She's a little shorter in terms of her body length, and I don't know that that's good or bad, but I think it does benefit her out here from just a depth of body and shape of rib standpoint here in these heifer calves. Really impressive in terms of the lower third of her body. That's a heavy bone, big-footed female that, you certainly appreciate that all about her. Neat and fresh up through her front end in terms of her condition. Set her in motion at times. She'll maybe want to drop her pins and use her hind leg just a little more awkwardly out here as compared to the one right in front of her, but a nice female there in her own right. Got back to the third class, and that was a really interesting class of those cattle, and kind of all shapes and sizes and kind were in there, but I thought these two that sorted in that class were the ones that were fresh and youthful, yet they still have some look and quality about them. The heifer that wins the class, that's a really big bone, big-footed one here that gives you a nice look from the side, good in terms of her body shape and dimension out here. And we talked that class. Is she the wildest necked winner, the freakiest right there in terms of her jawline? I don't know. But for me, you get her back out here at times, maybe pushes her hock a little bit and gets a little awkward there and she goes to the ground. But I think structure's still very, very acceptable, and that one gives you a nice look out here. Good heifer that wins the final class as well. Talked that one just a second ago. Big, stout, powerful, heavy bone female that really gives you a good look here at the stand. Could redesign her in terms of her feet and legs and let her just get out and go a little easier, but certainly one from a look standpoint, a power standpoint, it's definitely in contention out here. Again, let's put our hands together here for this January-February division. What an awesome division drive here in this Hereford show. I'll get you a pair of high-quality females. Congratulations.
Third and final call, Class 13 Hereford females. Third and final call, Class 13 Hereford females. First call, Class 14 Herefords. First call, Class 14 Herefords. And your champion junior Hereford heifer calf goes to entry number 110, KLL KLD Toy Girl 1K, owned by Hadley Dunklow of Wayne, Nebraska. Your reserve champion goes to entry number 99, Purple Elmay Trudy 200K, owned by Stetson and Blakely Story of Stockton, Illinois. First call, Class 40, 41 and 42 Red Angus Bulls. First call, Class 40, 41 and 42 Red Angus Bulls. Second call, Class 14 Hereford females. Second call, Class 14 Hereford females.
Well, obviously, selection we get out here are the respective division winners here in our Red Angus show or on this side of the ring. And I made the comment a time or two, you know, you come to Louisville, you're going to expect quality. But I'll be quite frank or quite honest with you folks. The cattle are better than I expected. And I don't mean that derogatory. I mean that as a compliment. These cattle are good. I mean, all the way, this calf hits me and Reed really, really hard. From her all the way down, I mean, these cattle have got some form, some function. Obviously, we want them built from the ground up. We want a little something to them. And then, as I've talked about, we get out here on these green shavings. We want some zazz, some presence, and some quality to them. And I'm not going to go through and talk about each one. To us, it comes down to 2 or 3 of these heifers that we would feel comfortable with. If it said you got to back your trailer up and throw them on, you're going to take them home. And that's just simply what we've done here as we've worked through the female show. It's been an honor and a privilege to ask Reed come down here and help me. As you folks know that run operations, you've got somebody behind the scenes, and it's pretty simple. It doesn't happen. It doesn't operate without people like that. And I respect his eye. I respect his ability, and it's been a privilege for him to kind of bounce some ideas and some thoughts off of as we've worked through this female show. So, but more importantly, thank you and congratulations to you exhibitors, you breeders, you people that have put these cattle together and worked on them in the back. You know, time, energy, money. You don't need to tell me. You folks are probably ready to go home. It's been a long week, long weekend here. But what you're doing out here, you don't need me to tell you, and what you're doing for these families and for the breed and for the livestock industry in general, you're to be complimented. And my hat's off to you. Me and Reed are going to just go simply pick the 2 that we like. But I think you folks along ringside, if you would, please put your hands together on a very nice set of Red Angus females.
Second call, Class 40, 41, and 42 Red Angus bulls. Second call, Class 40, 41, and 42 Red Angus bulls. Your grand champion Red Angus female goes to entry number 100, WLTR Scarlet 4J, owned by Brett Pembroke of Fairview, Oklahoma. And your reserve grand champion Red Angus female goes to entry number 105, BJF Sita 1049J, exhibited by Luke Borklin of Henning, Minnesota. Third and final call, Class 40, 41, and 42 Red Angus Bulls. Third and final call, Class 40, 41, and 42 Red Angus Bulls. Third call, Class 14 Hereford Females. Third call, Class 14 Hereford Females. First call, Class 15 Herefords. First call, Class 15 Hereford Females.
Good way to start off our senior heifer calf division, and some give and take up here on top. I'll be the first one to tell you, I think the heifer that wins those a little more my kind, as far as just being a little denser, a little wider built. You study this one, I think she certainly has the advantage over the one in second, of just being more opened up all the way through, especially there in terms of her forerib and her lower body shape back to her rear and flank. Young man gets her stopped, and she gets her put together, and sure gives you a really nice look out here. At times, you know, she appears a little rougher haired, maybe not just as sleek and designed from the side as the 1 and 2, but I think that one's stout. I think she's powerful. I think she's functional in her kind. Enough more of her out here from just a mass standpoint to go ahead and win this class. Gets interesting here with these 1s and 2 and 3. You know, they read with, you know, empty numbers here on paper, and so makes it a little tougher out here from a show judge standpoint. But I think when you just break them down and study the cattle, this is kind of where they fit in this particular class. The 1 in second here gives you a great look here from the side. Up-headed and long-necked and fresh in terms of her chest and up through her front end, a female that balances up out of her hip really well, has some body shape and lower depth to her rib cage. You know, for me, you get right on top of that when you just want to open her up in her forerib, stouten her up all the way through, and I think square her up the way she uses her hind leg ever so slightly, but a good heifer there to come in second. 1 and 3's heavy bone, big-footed, really long and extended from her shoulder forward, gives you a nice look there. Kind of comes out of balance ever so slightly, a little rougher there in her top line. We could level her out there and just pick her up in her pins and square everything up. For me, just gets a little rigid in her hock. Like to let her get out and go a little easier in terms of the 2 right ahead of her, but good female there in her own right. But kind of a different speed of one coming next. Wide-made, massive built female that's really big out of the backside of her shoulder, maintains that width all the way down her top. A little plainer up front, maybe not just the look and balance here from the side as the cattle right ahead of her, but a nice female there that's got a lot of brood cow potential all over. Different one here coming as well. Extra stout and powerful in terms of her bone work, all the way down to the ground. It's a little shorter there in her hip, maybe a little runs downhill, maybe a little plainer there in terms of her shoulder and up through her front end, but a nice heifer there in her own right. I think it's got plenty to her. Good heifer here, moderate size, big ribbed, just needs more look and balance, could make her a little sounder off both ends. We got a pair of heifers here that I think are both nice in terms of their condition. I think they're fresh and got good days ahead of them. Need more to them, need more look and balance here from the side.
Results of Class 12 of your Hereford show: in first place, entry number 161, Beaufat Hill Lucky 7, owned by Harrison Roberts of Williamsburg, Massachusetts. In second place, entry number 156, My Merlot 1221, owned by Reed and Ryan of Quincy, Illinois. In third place, entry number 160, owned by Martina Alley of Dansville, Georgia. In fourth place, entry number 165, John Cox. In fifth place, entry number 159, owned by Daniel, Emma, and Morgan Richardson of Capron, Illinois. In sixth place, entry number 155, owned by Madison and Salem Sifford and Sedona Sifford. In seventh place, entry number 164, owned by Madison, Salem, and Sedona Sifford. In eighth place, entry number 163, Emma Ballinger and Bo Todd. Second call, Class 15, Hereford females. Second call, Class 15, Hereford females.
Nice class of these November females here. And you know, for me, the one that's, she's not the most overwhelming out here as far as just performance and size, but I think this is the one I land on rather quickly in this particular class. Here's a really fresh conditioned, attractive female here from the side that gives you a great look down her top and out of her hip. Really neat in terms of her underline, where her chest floor sits in relation back to her rear rib and flank. Gives you a nice look off her hip and hind leg. She's attractive up front. Nice place to start here in this particular class. Good effort here coming in second. You know, from a frame size standpoint, she's probably in line with our class winner, a little more on the moderate side. You know, this is a dense female here that's really opened up, really stout and massive in terms of her, like her view here from the three-quarter, opened up in her rib cage and powerful boned. You know, a female compared to our class winner, a little rougher there in her top line, maybe not as smooth out through her tail head, could just loosen her up in terms of her structure ever so slightly. But a nice female there that's going to be a really good brood cow on down the road. I like this big, stout, powerful female too, and she's one that you can really get in on in terms of just her hip and her bone and her stoutness there. A heifer you really like in terms of just her overall mass and power. It's a little rougher there in terms of her shoulder to her forerib hookup, maybe a little plainer in terms of her look there, but a female, I think if we could loosen her up off her hip and hind leg ever so slightly, she could slide up in this class, but a nice heifer there in her own right. Next female coming, nice sized one here in terms of just being moderate in her kind, a female that I think reads well down her top and out of her hip. A little plainer up front. I think for me, just need to change her in terms of her structure. Let her get out long, take a longer stride off both ends of her skeleton, but a good heifer here that patterns up well from the side. Stouter one coming next. More mass, more power when you get right on top of this one as far as shape and dimension goes. Female, it's a little deeper there in her neck, a little plainer in her chest floor. Could like just balance her up from the side just a little bit nicer. Good heifer that's going to close too. One with body shape, one with dimension. A little plainer there in her look, could just sharpen her up in terms of her feature, but a good heifer there in this particular class. Congratulations to all those exhibitors. Good class in Novembers.
Third and final call, Class 15, Hereford females. Third and final call, Class 15, Hereford females. First call, class 54, 55, and 56, Red Angus Bulls. First call, class 54, 55, and 56, Red Angus Bulls. Class number 40 is entering the ring. Second call, class 54, 55, and 56, Red Angus Bulls. Second call, class 54, 55, and 56, Red Angus Bulls. First call, class 16 and 17, Hereford females. First call, class 16 and 17, Hereford females.
As we move into the Red Angus Bull Show here, first class and a trio of calves out here that certainly have some good and some utility to them, but the logical choice for us, gentleman's bull calf to lead off with here. He's the powerfully constructed calf that just brings a little more substance, foot and bone, and just power and muscle from end to end to go ahead and lead off with. Solid place to lead off. 2 and 3 become a nickel closer, but the calf that comes in second obviously is just a bit more cooperative, if you will. That calf stays sound enough and he's kind. When we ask him to get out and go, he's smooth in the way he's put together up and through his shoulder and stays strong and long down that top line relative to the good class winner that leads off. I want to power him up just a little bit and give him a little more to him. Young man that rounds off the class has got a nice bull calf in his own right. Unfortunately, he becomes a frailer made, poor balanced of the trio we have out here, but a nice group to get started with.
Got a really strong group of these Octobers here, and very, very high quality. Set them up here on top. I think the one that wins, she comes at you here and you gravitate towards her just for being so fresh in terms of her condition and sleek up through her front end. Heifer that's really neat down her top and out of her hip. She's a heavy bone, big footed female. Still has some body cavity and some rib cage in her. Nice place to start. Good heifer in second. Probably a little stouter when you get right on top over than our class winner as far as just dimension down her top and out of her hip. Big barreled female here that gives you a nice look up front. A little stiltier up there through her front shoulder and knee, and probably just not as heavy boned and rugged as our class winner, but good heifer there that's got mass and power and dimension and body shape. Good one to come in second. I like the young man's heifer here in third as well. She's conventional in terms of her size. She's got some shape to her. She's got some bone and some foot underneath her. Maybe not the look and balance of the two up front, even compared to those two, but still a very, very high quality female here, though, that I think gets around the ring exceptionally well. Good heifer here coming next. Really bold made and stout and dimensional when you get right on top of her. Lots of shape, lots of power, extra big bone and footed. From a balance standpoint, need to soften her up there through the middle part of her body, clean her up through her front end, and I think just loosen her up in terms of her structure as well. Nice one coming next. Kind of fought the halter out here for this young lady, but still got a good female. It's going to make a good brood cow. Got some rib, got some volume, some substance to her. Need to be redesigned off both ends of her skeleton. Change her there, and she can maybe slide up a notch or two. Big stout one coming next. Lots of bone, lots of foot underneath her. Little plainer here from this side. If we could just make her a shot more attractive. That female's got a lot of positives working for her there as far as just dimension and shape. And a nice one to close, too. A female with some rib and volume. I think she's nice enough in terms of her structure. This gets a little rougher in terms of her appearance here from this side. Like to just give her a little more look and quality.
Just a single entry over here on the Red Angus Bull side, but a very, very high quality individual in his own right. He gives you a neat look up through his front end. He's very strong and expansive down his top. Has some extra shape and stoutness when you step in behind him. But yet still reads rugged in terms of his features. He's masculine up through his head and his neck. Has some substance of foot and bone underneath of him. A very high quality individual in this class. Congratulations.
Result of Class 40 in your Red Angus Bull Show. In first place, entry number 119, Red LePage, OK Red Kingdom 16, exhibited by LePage Cattle Limited of Coshocton, Ohio. In second place, entry number 118, WCS Bruno 234, exhibited by Kunda Farms of Nancy, Kentucky. In third place, entry number 117, Lynch's Red Angus. Third call in Class 16 and 17 Hereford females. Third call in Class 16 and 17 Hereford females. First call in Class 18 and 19 Herefords. First call in Class 18 and 19 Herefords.
nice pair of bull calves that we have out here, and the two come to us, and obviously they're different in their type and kind, but ultimately we ask these cattle to go, and that's where they separate themselves. And in our opinion, the bull that leads off, he's just so much better in terms of the way he's laid into his shoulder and that angle there in his shoulder, and then back through his hip and down at his hind leg, and we ask him to go just more comfortable and gets out and fills his track. Is he as stout and as powerful as the bull that comes in second? Absolutely not. And those where those advantages lie in him. That's a big top, thick-ended kind of a calf, and you appreciate that about him with some performance and substance to him. Unfortunately, he wants to get up in his top just a nickel. Gets a little straighter or stiltier, if you will, off both ends of his skeleton. But a nice pair of bull calves that have some usefulness and utility to them.
Class 16 and 17 Herefords to the makeup arena immediately. Class 16 and 17 Herefords to the makeup arena immediately. Hereford entry number 200 and 201 to the makeup arena. Once again, Class 16 and 17 Herefords to the makeup arena immediately. This is your second call, Class 18 and 19 Hereford female. Second call, Class 18 and 19 Hereford female. Results of Class 41 in your Red Angus Bull show. In first place, entry number 137, AAS Riding Shotgun, exhibited by Adeline Sorgan of Convoy, Ohio. Your Class 42 results. In first place, entry number 129, WDSC Sailor's Delight, K24, exhibited by Reba Prather of Nancy, Kentucky. In second place, entry number 126, GC Bacola 4K, exhibited by Brooke Rickey of Whiteford, Maryland. Now exhibiting in the Red Angus ring is a selection of your Spring Bull Calf champion.
And selection over here on the Red Angus side, our first calf or bull calf division here, and three nice class winners and two couple respective seconds we have out here. There's some give and take in our opinion or estimation where you want to lay your priorities and measures as far as that's concerned, but there's a bull calf out here that brings just a little more substance and power to the table. We alternate that with the calf we're going to use for reserve. It's probably just a bit better in terms of these angles, but I'd like to stouten him up just a little bit. So like I said, there's some give and take, but there's certainly some good and some quality in these calves. We'll show you the two that we like. Congratulations to these exhibitors.
In your champion Spring Bull Calf champion in your Red Angus show goes to entry number 137, AAS Riding Shotgun, exhibited by Adeline Sorgan of Convoy, Ohio. Your reserve champion goes to entry number 129, WDSC Sailor's Delight, K24, exhibited by Reba Prather of Nancy, Kentucky. Now entering the ring is Class 54 of your March Spring Yearling Bulls.
Got our Septembers and a few Augusts in this class here on the Hereford side, and a real nice place to start here. A female that just balances up so well and fresh in terms of her look here from the side. Good heifer here in terms of her structure and bone and foot size. Just a real high quality one here in this particular class. Gets a little tougher here for me, just trying to depend on where you put your priorities, can do several things. I think the short marked heifer here is one that's impressive in terms of just a shape and dimension and a look here she gives you from the stand. A heifer that's really powerful down her top and out of her hip. Young lady gets her put together, and she sure can give you a nice look here from the side. I like to free her up in terms of her structure ever so slightly here. Just let her get out and go a little easier, but nice heifer there in her own right. I think the female here with some extra white on her probably has the advantage of being a little longer stepping, a little more flexible there at the ground, but you get right on top of that one. There's not as much animal as the one right ahead of her as far as shape and width and power, but a nice female there that I think is really sound in terms of her structure. Just needs to be more of her out here in this particular class. Good female here coming next. Big, rugged heifer here. Done a nice job with this one as far as just keeping her fresh and lean. A little plainer, though, in terms of her look here from the side, but nice female as far as power and bone and substance and condition goes. Then we kind of run into some females that are a little different in their type and kind, a little more moderate in their size, maybe not quite the look and balance from the side. If we could just stretch them out and give them a little more of an attractive side view profile, maybe true them up in terms of their structure. But a very good class here, September's and August. Congratulations to these exhibitors.
Just another single entry over here in the Red Angus bull side, but not lacking any quality. Here on the profile, this bull's so good in the way he ties his neck on the top side of his skeleton. Still so strong and bold right there behind his shoulders. It maintains that extra width and dimension when you step in behind him, out through his hip and down through his lower quarter. And still, when you ask him to lead, he's really flexible off both ends of his skeleton and maintains his balance when asked to lead. That's a really nice bull. Congratulations.
Results of Class 15 in your Hereford show. In first place, entry number 194, EXR Miss Harley, 1278, exhibited by Ella Weldon of Piedmont, Oklahoma. In second place, entry number 185, HCF Miss Ava, number 2, exhibited by Marilyn Lewis of Lawrenceburg, Kentucky. In third place, entry number 1, Hardy Malcolm Edwards. In fourth place, entry number 192, Caitlin Keith. In fifth place, entry number 189, Grand Meadows Farm. In sixth place, entry number 196, Craig Stahowski. And in seventh place, entry number 198, Durst Farms.
Over here on the Red Angus side, a pair of yearling bulls. And folks, I tell you, these two bulls are really, really good. And I mean that sincerely. They come in different kinds and types, obviously. The bull that we elected or lead off with, you can't deny his just presence and his quality of a very highly presented bull. But more importantly, where those differences or advantages lie. This bull opens up square, bolder, and truer, particularly right in behind his shoulders. He transitions not only into his forerib and his heart, but his top line. That is one big hipped calf with a world of foot and bone underneath of him. Really, really good looking. I'm not going to call him the biggest bodied, soggiest made kind of a bull, but he matches his length and his kind and his quality. Just a super good place to start. This bull that comes in second, folks, that's just a good kind. I mean, that's a huge bodied bull. He's super practical in his build. He's really, really sound and angular when we ask him to get out and go. In terms of his joints and the way he sets down, super sound. You know, that extra body and sogginess that he has probably works just a nickel to his disadvantage. That bull eases up, gets a little slack, if you will, right in terms of his top line. He's not as bold and as full right behind his shoulder. He's a little heavier down into his chest and brisket, but that's getting picky on a really good kind of a bull that offers a lot of utility, just a good kind. Congratulations, those two exhibitors, two really good bulls.
Really a strong division here of senior heifer calves on our Hereford side, and just tremendous set of them out here, and you know, different shapes and sizes and kinds again, but you know, that's okay. They kind of need to fit your mold and where you're shooting them for, but the quality speaks for itself. These females are extremely good. The youngest heifer up here up front that wins the first class, you know, in that class, she was the one that was still dimensional, still had some power and some body shape to her. I thought her structure was more than acceptable in that class. You get her back out here, she's maybe a little rougher in her appearance, and maybe it's her hair coat as compared to the ones right behind her, but it's still a good heifer with lots of body shape, lots of dimension to her. Maybe not as attractive from the side as a couple, but good female there in her own right. Heifer that wins the next class, obviously getting a little hot on us out here, but that one's good. She kind of hit me pretty hard in that particular class, just from a practicality standpoint. Her structure's very, very good. She's a female that's big-ribbed and really, really good back through her rear rib and flank, yet I think she's still fresh in her condition. She probably has the advantage in this particular drive of where her shoulder and her knee placement sets in her. I think she gets out and goes and covers her track extremely well. Compared to the two right behind her, she's a little bolder in her forerib, a little neater right there, but a very, very nice heifer. Now, the outlier to me in this group is the one that wins the next class. This is a very high-tying, high-fronted female here that's very attractive up through her head and neck. You know, she's stout in terms of her bone work all the way to the ground as far as foot size and shape goes down there. Powerful female when you study her. You know, you really like this one from a look and balance standpoint here from the side. Get right in and dig onto her there. Maybe a little straighter in her shoulder, maybe a little straighter in her knee, like to just open her up in her forerib ever so slightly. I think she's flexible. I think everything goes. Maybe comes up just a little short in her stride there, but a good heifer there that wins that particular class. Then a more of a conventional one here, the early September female here that wins the last class. And that one, in that drive, she was the show cow of the bunch that had body and shape and mass and still gives you a great look out here. You know, out here maybe doesn't pick her head up quite as high as some, maybe not as attractive from in terms of hooks to pins, maybe not as neat there in her balance, but a big-bodied female, I think that's sure functional in terms of her type and kind, still gives you a nice look out here from the side. So kind of comes down to a pair of them out here for me. They're a little different as far as their shape and kind goes, but again, congratulate all these exhibitors one more time for me here in the senior heifer calf division. I'll get you a grand in reserve.
Just another single entry on the Red Angus bull side, one who offers a lot of extension and length up through his front end. He's loose in his skeleton. Just a very, very practical kind of a bull. Maybe compared to some of the other ones out here, he's not as rugged and not as stout when you step in behind him, but that's still an attractive bull who's leveling his lines and has some extra length and extension. Congratulations.
Results of Class 55 of your Red Angus Bull show. In first place, entry number 138, Kip J301 Sharp Dress Man, exhibited by Kip Wallace of Emerald, Wisconsin. In second place, entry number 140, Red Diamond El Rey 102, exhibited by Jackson Bragg of Salado, Texas. Your Class 56 winner goes to entry number 141, Red LePage Tommy Jack 5, exhibited by LePage Cattle Limited of Coshocton, Ohio, and Blair's Ag Cattle Company of Lanigan, Saskatchewan. Third and final call, Class 18 and 19 Hereford females. Third and final call, Class 18 and 19 Hereford females.
This is a very good pair of June and July females out here, and you know, they're probably as polar opposite as we've seen as far as a pair goes for just type and kind, but both are extremely high quality and both can bring a lot to the table. The heifer that's going to win, I think, is just enough more fresh in terms of her condition and sleek up through her front end. I think she's got the advantage of being laid in a little neater there in her shoulder, a little truer there in her top line and her loin, and the way her hip and tail head works. A very flexible female that can get out and go. Is there as much of her as our second place as far as just depth and shape to her rib or maybe as bone and foot size? Probably not. But I think her balance and her freshness in this particular class gives her the advantage. I do like this heifer in second, and she is stout made and really wide and massive when you get right on top of her. Big boned, heavy foot, heavy structured female here that really does a lot from that standpoint. It's a little rougher there in her top line, like to just settle her in there and just smooth her up, let her get out and go a little truer, but nice female there in her own right that sure can do a lot of things.
And your champion Hereford Senior Heifer Calf goes to entry number 168, RGR Janet 150J, owned by Ella Bain of Towanda, Illinois. Your reserve champion Hereford Senior Heifer Calf goes to entry number 175, BACC 629 Georgia K 165, owned by Catherine Coleman of Modesto, California.
Division time over here on the Red Angus side, and folks, Reed made a comment to me, and I couldn't agree more. He said, you know, it might be, this division might be tougher than anything we had to decide all day long, and there's a lot of truth to that, because there's some good cattle, good bulls in particular, obviously, out here, and you know, we've got our two respective class winners here on the front end, or closest to me, and I encourage you folks to study your programs, your needs, and what you're trying to do, and utilize these cattle, because there's a lot of good here, a lot of good. The bull that wins this first class is a super, super long spine calf. I love the way he comes down his top line and out of his hip. He's so long and smooth from hooks to pins. He balances up. His proportions are really, really good. I probably like his center body just a nickel better, but on the downturn, I'd like to change him ever so slightly on the top side of his skeleton, right behind his blade or his shoulder, as he comes back into that full rib and his top line right behind his shoulder, and that calf's not as agile off his rear too as the calf right behind him. He's laid in just a nickel better in his shoulder. He's better just a little bit in his angles up front, and that's what makes this so challenging, because there's give and take between the two. And the dark red bull that wins that second class, Reed made the comment, he said, you know, that's one that you just want to go stand behind. That's one that just has that presence and that wow factor to him. That is one big hipped calf with a paw underneath of him. Now, you talk about a hip and a hind leg and sets down so good, as I just talked about. He's not as correct right up in through his shoulder, particularly his knee, and then down into his front toes or feet there. Once again, we're getting picky on two really, really good bulls here, and those respective seconds. And there's one in particular that's a darn good bull as well. But as it boils down here, there's two bulls here in front of us. There's some give and take, but I encourage you, as I said, you folks have your favorites. It's our job or evaluation to go pick the two that we like, and obviously we'll do so. But they deserve a round of applause. This is a very high-quality set of bulls.
At this time, ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to introduce your 2022 National Championship Collegiate Livestock Judging Team, the Oklahoma State Cowboys. Congratulations to the Cowboys. In your Red Angus Bull Show, your junior bull calf champion goes to entry number 138, Kip J301, Sharp Dressed Man, exhibited by Kip Wallace of Emerald, Wisconsin. Your reserve junior bull calf champion goes to entry number 136, TC Tucker 65J, owned by Ty Scott and Callie Bayer of Ringgold, Wisconsin.
Just another single entry here as we move into the next division in the Red Angus bulls. Very high performing, bold bodied kind of a bull that comes out here. He's long out of his hip, he's flexible out of his hind leg. Maybe just need to make him a shot more attractive and up through his front end and strengthen him right there behind his shoulders just a little bit. but that's a big-bodied bull who's long and flexible and high-performing as well. Congratulations.
Your Class 59 winner and also your champion Fall Bull calf in your Red Angus show goes to entry number 142, Shady's Hondo H104, exhibited by Shady Bottom Red Angus of Crossville, Tennessee.
As we get into the 2-year-old bulls here, one that gives you a really good look when you step off to the side of him. He's really stout out through his hip and down through his quarter. It has really good spread when you look at him on paper. Maybe a bull you just like to have a little more substance underneath all that extra mass and power up high. But that's still an attractive made, square built kind of a bull that's got a lot of muscle up high. Congratulations.
First call, Class 20 and 21 Hereford females. First call, Class 20 and 21 Hereford females.
Very high quality set of May yearling females here in this class, and I think a very strong pair of them up here on top, and they're very different as far as their type and kind goes, but the heifer that's going to win, a very neat female here from the side, big-bodied heifer that's really strong in her forerib and the shape to her lower body, back through her rear rib and flank, sure gives you a nice look down her top line and out of her hip. I think she's still fresh and neat up through her front end. Is she as long neck maybe as the one that's in second? You know, I don't know, but that thing balances up extremely well here from the side. Still plenty to her, a nice place to start. I like the length. I like the extension on this 1 and 2. Very, very neat up through her front end. A long-bodied female that has some power and some shape when you get right on top of her. Maybe not as big-barreled, maybe not quite as true in terms of her structure as our class winner, but a very nice female there in her own right. Big stout heifer here coming next, and I think she kind of falls in line in this particular class of just having some shape, having some power to her when you get right up on top of her. There's not the rib, not the volume of the two right ahead of her, but it's a nice-looking female here from the side that's good in her top line and out of her hip. Very attractive, just needs more rib and volume to run with them two right up front. Kind of switch gears a little bit here with one that's a little more conventional in her size. She's extra stout when you get right on top of her. Let's change her in terms of her structure. Female, we need to get out and loosen up off both ends, let her relax in terms of her ankle ever so slightly, but still one that gives you a nice look here at the stand. Just need to free her up on the go. Heifer here now coming next, one with extra shape down her top and out of her hip. It's a little streamlined there in terms of her midrib, just like to soften her up there. I like her length. I like her extension. She comes out to us in good condition, just needs to be more body. I think square that one up in terms of her hip and pin placement as well. Young man's doing a nice job here with this female that's got extra power when you get right on top of her. A heifer that can sure give you a nice look. If we could free her up a little bit, I think this one could slide up a few notches because that's a nice heifer here. Done a good job presenting and showing that one out here today. Good heifer here coming next, one that's heavy boned and big footed. Need to free her up in terms of her structure, but I think she has the advantage over the one right behind her of being just a little nicer balanced here when we get her at the stand. good heifer, just free her up in terms of her structure. Good cow prospect here to close. Big body, big rib female here. A little plainer in terms of her overall look, but very excellent class of May females. Congratulations.
As we conclude things over here on the Red Angus side, you know, obviously not the numbers that we had in the female show here in the bull show, but the quality definitely, without question, has stayed true and been really, really good. You know, I'm going to keep my comments brief here. You know, obviously I want to thank the North American and the Red Angus Association for asking me, and then obviously Reed here to kind of be my counterpart, so to speak, and throw some things off of. Whenever you get asked to evaluate stock in Louisville and have the opportunity or pleasure to get on the green chips, it doesn't get any better. If that doesn't get your blood pumping, I'm not quite sure will. But folks, it's been a real pleasure, but more importantly, these exhibitors, these breeders, and these folks have kind of battled it and kept these cattle together and put them together to come out here in the show ring. They're the real winners, and congratulations to them. There's a couple pair or a couple bulls that we like quite well, and that falls pretty logically for us. We'll show you the two that we like. But once again, thank you for the opportunity. Congratulations to you Red Angus exhibitors and breeders.
And your grand champion Red Angus bull goes to entry number 138, Kip J301, Sharp Dressed Man, exhibited by Kip Wallace of Emerald, Wisconsin. Second call, class 20 and 21 Hereford females. Second call, class 20 and 21 Hereford females.
Fantastic summer yearling division here on the Hereford side, and two class winners and seconds that are extremely high quality. And you know, not the numbers we've had, but still the strength and the quality that you expect here on the green shavings in your Hereford show. And the pair of females out of the first class, I talked to them a second ago of just being complete polar opposite, but both are still extremely high quality. This first heifer here gives you a great look here from the side, and just super fresh about her chest and up through her front end. Her condition comes to us great. That's one that's very neat in terms of her top line and out of her hip, and I think she's flexible in terms of her movement. You know, is there as much of her as the pair of cattle that come out of the next class? You know, probably not, but that's a good female, though, that I think is fresh in her condition, still got days to come and some show road ahead of her. That was a very good class and a very good pair here out of the next class of cattle, and two of them that are extremely good. And this one that wins this class is dense. She's bold. She's big ribbed. That's a nice bone, nice footed one here that can get out and cover some ground. Yet you get up on top of her and you really still appreciate the look and balance she gives you. Very, very good place to start in that class. And the second was extremely good as well. A long-bodied female that's really extended up front. Sure gives you a nice look here from the side as well. Help me congratulate the two out of the final class in this division, and they'll be your champion reserve. Congratulations.
Your reserve grand champion Red Angus bull goes to entry number 136, T.C. Tucker, 65J. Owned and exhibited by Ty Scott and Callie Bear of Ringgold, Wisconsin. In the Red Angus Arena, we'd also like to recognize your premier breeder and premier exhibitor. Goes to TC Reds of Ringgold, Wisconsin. First call, class 2, 3 and 4, belted Galloways. First call, class 2, 3 and 4, belted Galloway females.